All good, all good. I think so far so good. I think the crowd is. Yes, I can see a lot of people saying I used Copilot. I don't use Copilot. All the mixed responses, amazing. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Sir is a rich person. Got it. Perfect. Niraj, welcome to have you one more time. I think the crowd is all set up and ready to go deeper. They understand how they should look at the things that we teach and how to adopt. And I think you'll do a great job. Folks, I'll come back for phase three at the end, but I think Niraj, the floor is all yours. Yes. Let me get started. Let me quickly set up my monitor and then let's deep dive into the session. And I'll be going through what we will be covering today, what this session gonna look like. Just give me a sec and let me know once you are able to see the presentation plus and yeah. Can you see the screen? Okay, confirm. Yeah. Okay, perfect. So amazing, right? So let's get started. Before I go into my introduction about my journey, I think Om has already shared a lot of things. So I'll make it very, really quick. But before that, what should you expect in this session, right? I should be able to make you clear so that I need your next 2 hours, 2 to 2.5 hours, you can imagine, where we will deep dive inside AI agents. And when I say AI agent, it's not like we will be starting with building the AI agent that agent, how we can break down it. I'll give you a mental picture, right? How can you visualize an AI agent? And then we will be going into solving a case study, right? So we will be building our first AI agent today itself using, I mean, there are a lot of modules by the way, but we will be using Crew AI. There is something called LangChains. We have multiple, right? Multiple open source platform, but I'll be introducing you one today. Maybe we'll get to know some other framework tomorrow also, right? So we'll start with a beginner level AI agent, and obviously we'll be decoding agentic patterns as well, right? So once you understood agents, we'll be discussing about what are the different agentic patterns that companies are adopting and making their applications, right? I'll talk about Microsoft, what agentic application we have built. I'll talk about Zomato. I'll show you all live. I'll show you about Make My Trip, right? What they are building inside the agentic and how now you can figure it out which pattern you can also, I mean, solve in your respective company, right? And all the questions I'll be taking towards the end. So whatever doubts, question you have, just keep it with you. We'll take towards the end. And yes, that's it. And all the code, right? I mean, I'll get this question again and again that can you share the code or will I be able to get all these codes? Yes, you will be getting that code, right? And so let's get started, right? So this is what I wanted to cover before I go into the intro and the session part. So my name is Divij and currently working as a data and applied scientist at Microsoft. And I started my journey as an IoT engineer, if I tell you. So I was working with Air India for a very short stint of 11 months. And there I was collecting a lot of petabytes of data, if I tell you, and all the sensors data which is connected to your aircraft, right? I mean, the airplane data, we were, I mean, getting a lot of petabytes of data through sensors. We were doing that analysis on top of that and so on. That was my work back then in 2017, if I talk about. And I was playing around these two devices, right? So I hope some of you might have seen these two devices, right? What you see on the screen, which is a tiny palm-sized Raspberry Pi and Arduino. And then I thought, like, let me pursue my master's in AI and machine learning. So I went on to University of Hyderabad, did my, you can say, MTech over there for 2 years, graduated from there and started working as a data and applied scientist at VMware. Built a lot of legacy models over there. You can say machine learning, traditional deep learning models, which is now again, I mean, a lot of people ask me this question that what happened to ML and DL? It is still there, right? I mean, still machine learning is there. It's not dead. But the use case in the companies are more LLM driven now, but there are use cases which where we run machine learning models as of now also. And not just us, many companies are running. So this is not that ML is already dead, right? I keep on hearing ML is dead. No, nothing like that. Right. So now, currently, I'm working as data and applied scientist, and I'm part of M365 Copilot team. And the product is Teams Copilot, right? And the Teams chat interface one. So there we are shipping the top features on that product, and so on. And yes, as hackathon is something very close to my heart, this was the first hackathon product that we built in a week and that got shipped as a Shiksha Copilot. I mean, it was integrated as a product inside the Microsoft. So that's a little closer to my heart because not all the hackathon projects, I mean, it's a global hackathon project, not just for a team specific. It's like entire Microsoft globally. You can imagine, right? Not just India, not just US. Globally, it happens for a week, and everyone has to pitch their ideas. There are some problems, and this got selected as getting shipped to a product. So that is something to my heart. That yes, we have built something in a week, and now it's a part of products, right? So it is known as Shiksha Copilot now. Most of the Bangalore schools, if you just Google search Shiksha Copilot, you will get a lot of details on the search tab. So it is integrated with a lot of schools and so on. And they are literally using this as a companion for their study material. So let's get started. I'm always excited. And now let's get into the session, whatever we have planned for today. So as I told you, we'll be starting with all the understanding part. We'll not be discussing any mathematical proof, how this algorithm is derived, right? Like how transformer model works in a backend. All this is important. I'm not saying, but today our objective is to understand what is an AI agent and see the application side of things, right? Not the learning or you can say theoretical part of side, like what is the architecture of my these large language model, which is all attention, self-attention and coder decoder. So we are not going into any maths today, just to be very specific. It will be a hands-on applied session that how tomorrow's engineers should be preparing for the next decade, right? What we are doing as an engineer at Microsoft, like if I tell you the truth, in the last 6 months, if you ask anyone, right, I posted it on my LinkedIn also, Google, Sundar Pichai came and said 75% code is written by AI. We as a team have shipped, I mean, I would say, I think 10 to 12 features within last 4, 5 months, everything written by AI, right? Some tweaks, some deployments are still happening where you can say human intervention is there, and I'll talk about that. But most of the code, right, 85 to 90% of the code is AI generated now, right? So those things we will be discussing how you can navigate and become 10x productive using AI agents, right? Coding agents. We'll be seeing the demo of Cursor. We'll be talking about Claude Code and solving a full-fledged beginner level AI case study today, right? So this is like a prerequisite for your tomorrow session. So that is where beginner level case study will be discussing, and tomorrow it will be a little advanced, which my fellow worker from some other company, my friend, will come and teach you to go through some advanced concepts. But if you don't understand anything today, you'll not be able to correlate anything tomorrow, right? So let's get started. Now, what is an AI agent? I'll not go with the Google definition, right? I'll not tell you what is the definition on Google that you can obviously Google and read. Rather, I will dissect it for you that how you can envision an AI agent. So imagine an AI agent is the four components, right? It's like a four pillars, four components where I need large language model, I need planning, I need tools, all of that combined. So a lot of people, I don't know how many of you also think, but a lot of people think large language model are different from my AI agent. Or rather, I should put a question. This is a question to all of you. Should I call my ChatGPT or Claude an AI agent, or should I call them as a large language model or a chatbot? Where do you classify these tools? Let's say only Claude and ChatGPT. Should I call them an AI agent or should I call them an LLM? Okay, a lot of people are saying LLM. Interesting, because that is where I will be breaking your, I would say, notion that you have towards all these tools. Perfect. I see mixed response. Some people are saying LLMs, some are saying no, these are agents. Now let's decode, right? From this perspective, I want to go to first principle and make you understand what is exactly an AI agent. So you got the bookish definition, right? Unlike traditional software, which follows some strict rules, AI agents make decisions. Let's understand with the example of the user, right? And there is a UI UX on top of it. So it's like a full-fledged app. Now, what has changed in AI agent approach is most of the things is driven by natural language. It's a natural language interface where you go and type that I need to book a calendar with John, right? Which is, let's say, whenever he's free in the next slot. So my AI agent has to go and figure it out that when is the next best available slot where both of us are present, right? Find the mutual availability, go and block it, and even send an email that, hey, I have blocked your calendars. We will be meeting on this month, I mean, on this date and time. This approach is what AI agent is driven, right? AI agent will also be writing a code. That is very true, right? It will also be writing code, like without writing a single piece of code, how we can achieve this task. It will write, but for the user, it's just the natural language, right? As a user means as an engineer, my job is to give the instruction and give the right set of tools to it. Under the hood, it will go and create a code, create a front end, create a back end, and go and solve me and give me a beautiful UI UX where a user can type in. An agent will go and talk to my applications. This is the change you need to witness, right? And to our question where we got started, a lot of people have this confusion that my large language models are different and AI agent is something very new, right? So I always tell people go with the sequential order of this AI era, right? When ChatGPT came, can anyone tell me in the chat very quickly when ChatGPT came in the market or AI generative AI era, right? I think I got my answer already November 2022, 2016. Okay, someone is saying 2016. I was in my bachelor's, but I wish I could have ChatGPT. But I have done all my assignments, all my papers without ChatGPT, right? Even in my masters, because I did my masters in 1820s. There was also no ChatGPT, no AI, nothing. So it came in November 2022, right? When we first time saw the large language model. And that time, let's take 2023, right? I mean, 2, 3 months, it became 2023. So 2023 is all about your large language models. How you can write a good prompt, how you can make a chatbot, how you can configure LLM based application. Then you saw the evolution of your RAGs, right? Retrieval augmented generation. I'll not go into the depth what it is, but you will be studying, right? So RAGs is where the 2024 light that, okay, what were the problems with my LLM? I need to connect my own data, right? I need to connect my own data so that answers should come from the data. My large language model have two fundamental problems of static knowledge, right? You see here, the first point, the knowledge cutoff. All your LLM has this problem of static knowledge. If you have never tried this, simply ask ChatGPT about this. ChatGPT can tell you what is the last time it got trained, right? You can simply ask, what is your knowledge cutoff? And see, carefully listen to my words. I'm not saying this is the problem. I'm saying this is the limitation, right? This is the limitation. And you see, at this point of time, this answer might vary, right? You might see August 2025, you might see June, maybe some other date. You can try and let me also know. But for me, what instance I am connected to the server is June 2024. So can you imagine I'm already connected to a model which is 2 years old, right? August 2025 also I get sometimes, right? Sometimes I get August 2025. But right now, whatever server I am connected to, which is not in my hand, right? What instance of server they have connected to me, though I'm on a Go plan, I'm not a free user. But yeah, you can still see I can use the live web search and get you all the things which is latest. So that means if I need to ask something very that can you tell me the last 7 days of AI updates, it has to mandatorily do a web search. And how that is facilitating if you ask a question there. This is what AI agent is, right? I'll define that. But you got a point, right? First limitation is my knowledge cutoff. My all LMs have the knowledge cutoff, right? And that fundamentally because the reason is also very simple. I can't keep on training it, right? It is very expensive affair. My companies cannot go into that loop. All my Microsoft, Google,
जितिन
OpenAI,
देखो
Anthropic,
जनरेटिव
they
एआई में
can't
पूरी
keep on
क्लास है
training on the
माइक्रोसॉफ्ट के
latest
अंदर जो काम
information.
करते हैं कोपायलट टीम में काम
The
करते हैं वो
cost is
है
very
सिखा
high,
रहे हैं
right? Cost of
जनरेटिव एआई और
training is
लॉर
billions of dollars.
लार्ज लैंग्वेज
So
मॉडल
my
में क्या
model
डिफरेंस
was
है
static.
एलएलएम
I
और एआई
solved
दोनों
this
के अंदर है
problem by
पूरा हर एक चीज
connecting
है
my
कल भी
own
क्लास
data,
होगी
which was
सुबह
RAG, which
10
I
से
told
2
you
और
in
शाम को भी 3
2024.
7 तक होगी
In
अभी ये 10 बजे तक चलेगा
2025
10
is
बजे
all about AI agents and so on, right? Till now, also 2026 is all about agents, agentic patterns, multi-agent, which we are sitting right now. But you saw the problem, right? Knowledge was static. Now AI agents can do or fetch the real-time information, but still it is LLM, right? Combined with tools. And that's exactly my question was, should I classify now a chat GPT or Claude, an LLM or an agent. So it is an agent, right? It is an agent. It is doing smartly. I don't have to do this web search. Automatically, my query will handle that, right? If I say how many companies, right? I mean, I'm just taking examples so that you have a clarity in your thoughts. What is an agent? How many companies uh, got funded in YC in 2026 in AI domain, for example. Right, this question is not in the knowledge of my large language model. It has to do a web search automatically, right? Without doing this, it cannot tell me all these companies' names, startup names, and okay, I just ask how many, right? If I say give me company names, right, it will give me company name. It has to read somewhere to get this answer because this is not in the training of my LLM, right? I got my answer 2025 6 batch. I got few companies, right? I have heard few of them. I would say most of them, but few are new to me also, right? So that is how the
Good.
tool plus your chat GPT is an AI agent, right? So first pointer, knowledge cutoff. Second, you see operation. Now you see operation. What is coming out? Text in, text out. All your RAGs, all your LLMs work. You ask a question in text, you get an answer in text. But AI agents change the game where you put a text, but actions are coming out, right? This is what action is known as. Though we have very limited actions in, I would say, chat GPT, but here you have a all different game altogether, right? I mean, I am personally fan of Claude only now, but it can do a fantastic job, right? It can call to my Gmail, it can do a lot of stuff. If I say, draft me an email, right, for my, let's say, AI workshop at Outscale, right? Let's say I'll say that where the which is taking first session is taking first session on AI agent, right? And now you see the magic. Send it to my Gmail. This is exactly what is action. It is not giving me just the text output. It is not just giving me a draft. It will go and take an action and save it into my draft of my Gmail. How that is possible? Because of these tools, right? I have these connectors, I have my Gmail enabled, I have my Google Drive access. I have provided that, right? As a user, me provided that access to my Claude that hey, you have my Gmail access, you can take action, right? You see now it is asking me a few questions uh, just to get the clarity, right? That's the power of Claude. That's where I love Claude, right? ChatGPT doesn't do that, but Claude generally goes into a detail and asks you some follow-ups and do sort of that things. But the point here is it can take your text in actions out, right? You are actually looking at the actions, right? Once you see it is calling the tool, it will tell me that, hey, I have drafted your email. How that is possible? It's not the LLM. It is LLM plus your tools. And that is fundamentally your AI agent. I mean, we will be describing in a much more detail, but you are looking at the pattern, what is changing, right? I'll show you the output also. Data access can't access external data, but my AI agents can browse the web, right? You just saw ChatGPT gave me the entire list of YC companies. It can browse the web, it can call the APIs, it can query my database, something more, it can call my MCPs, right? I am not going into the depth of MCP in my session, right? MCP stands for Model Context Protocol. It is an alternative way of how we use APIs in our traditional software engineering, right? How can I connect to these tools? For example, how can I connect to my Gmail? How can I connect to my Notion? How can I connect to my WhatsApp? How can I connect to my, let's say, Telegram? All these are third-party softwares. Earlier, right, when there's just LLM Wave came, it was all APIs. You go to the platform, get the API key, to your code, and you are able to connect your LLM to your Telegram and other stuff. Now the companies have switched to an open protocol, which is MCPs. Why? What is changed between API and that? All of that has a great context, right? But you will be learning that tomorrow. You have a session, so that's where I am not going into depth. But they are the two ways how can I connect my LLM to my model, right, or to my tools, right? These are the two ways. And MCPs is a unified way of doing it, and that's it. It is only for my AI applications. It's like a unified one URL, one MCP server linked. I connect to it. All operations handled by my LLM. I don't have to write each and every API code inside my, main logic. Right? I don't want to call my get request, post request, update request. I don't have to read the documentation. No damn curl commands. However, all of that has been taken care of by MCPs. I'll just go to that documentation, get my MCPs and you're done. So you see that data access becomes so easy. I connected the big data to my accuracy. Maybe my when the data is stale, right? Model is hallucinating. Model is hallucinating. That means it is not referring to the right source. But now, if it can search on the internet, if it can do that example, it can do search on the database. Model become zero hallucination, right? It can refer to the internet to fact check. And that's the reason your base ChatGPT Claude that was there in 2023-24 were normal large language models. Everything is now agents because they have tools integrated. They have one tool, two tools. When I am building my own application, you are the one as an engineer who will decide which tools I need to give access to my agent. Now you got a point, right? Like I think this is also done. You see here, right? I have created a draft. If I go and allow it, it is calling my Gmail, creating a draft, and this is done. Right? Drafting and dropping it into your Gmail. It is already done. So you see, right? Standalone LLM was my large language model, but now they are connected with tools. So everything is now an agent. Now come to the definition. Right? I could have started with the definition. It could have not made you sense, right? Now look at the definition. AI agent is my large language model as my query, and it has four core
बस खाली 2 मिनट सुन लो कि चला जाओ
tool interaction, memories. Right, memories I rather we'll talk about. But now you got the definition that what is my AI. Right? It is a component, right? It uses LLM with the four core capabilities. Now anyone asks you what is an AI agent? It's a large language model combined with planning, tools, memory, and actions. This should be your definition of the right. Right? Simple English, right? LLM combined with these four things becomes my AI agent. Now we will dissect each of these four pillars. First, understanding on the
माइक्रोसॉफ्ट में काम करते हैं, ये वाली कंपनी नहीं है, विंडोज उसी के अंदर काम करते हैं,
right? Like how planning happens, which algorithm, which prompting makes that planning modules and systems.
तो अलग अलग तरीके से बनता है, पूरा ही बना सकते हैं खुद का भी.
But now first understand what they are for an AI agent. First thing, planning. Every AI agent always starts your flow with the planning module. Right? You use cursor and commonly you have already used, or you are using cursor, your anti-gravity, your PS4, or you go to Claude only, right? Right now I took the example of Claude. I gave one input. I want to organize a workshop where Zirvis will be taking the first session. It asked me a few questions, right? Planned it. This is known as planning, right? What it does, it takes your high-level goal and break it down into to-dos. Similarly, cursor also, if you give an input to an AI agent, I'll demo cursor, by the way, towards the end of the session. So if you don't know what is cursor, just stick towards the end of the session. We will be doing it. I'll do a live demo on the cursor. But it's an AI agent, coding agent, right? Where it will, you give an input and it will break down my names into list of to-dos. Right? So from this example, I think we'll be able to code it, research my competitors. Now agent will break down and make a plan out of it. And what's the plan, right? To do this task, I want to identify my competitors, I want to analyze their products, I want to compare their pricing. So who is the agent? And when I say AI agent, your large language model. Right? Your AI agent is the fundamental building block. But it has those four things, right? Remember, LLM, planning, tools, memory, and action is what is coming out. So it is using its planning module, which is nothing but our prompting technique, which I'll cover. But you got a high level understanding first. Sir, what is planning? Breaking down of my goal into tools. Done. Yeah. Now AI agent is deciding two interactions, right? We'll go in depth. We'll go in depth of each one of them and we'll be building also, but understand from the surface level. Now next step. Now AI agent has to decide to fulfill this task, what tools I need. For example, I have given 10 tools to my AI agent, right? Like in the same way, you can imagine I have given how many tools? If I go here, if I go to my right, if I go click on manage my connectors, I have multiple tools, right? All these are my tools. Gmail, Google Drive, Janula, not connected also I can see bunch of tools here, right? I can connect to Airtable, I can connect to Canva. Lot of tools are available to me. I have given 5, 6. But for this task, which tool I need? Is my agent, right? That I need Gmail. If I could have said that there is an outline present, I mean the course outline or the session outline is there in my drive in this folder. Go and read that outline first, then draft and so I could have used Google, right? It has to go to my Google Drive, go to insert that folder, find that outline document, read it, then draft an email and send it on the email. So two tools. So who is deciding this? Which order? In what particular tools? Again, your large language model with the help of these. And what can be the tools? Internet data, right? I mean, how can I connect to internet? How can I go in database? Calling our APIs. When I say APIs, it has everything. WhatsApp. Anything I need to connect, I need to get my API or MCP. So now you will see MCP and API will go hand in hand. So there are two ways. Either I will go and connect my APIs or I'll connect my MCPs. I hope everyone knows what is API. I mean, if there is anyone who doesn't know, please let me know. I can answer it. Right. So APIs get connected to my data. Okay. Some people are saying they don't know APIs. Okay. API, you can imagine it's like a waiter, right? I mean, how two software system communicates, it's like a waiter. When you go to restaurant, you order something, your waiter takes your request, go to the kitchen, deliver your food, right? You don't go to kitchen and order. You don't directly talk to chef. So that communication, what waiter does. Similarly, in our application software world, if I want to the two systems, there is an API who is communicating. Takes your request, hit the model, deliver the response. So that is exactly what your API works under, right? And now from thoughts, you become an action, right? Your agent become an action. So you give a high level task, right? It is going and making a to-dos, selecting the right tools, and finally delivering you the action. So from thoughts to action is what execution is all about. What AI agent does, how it does, we will see, but this is the mental picture of my AI agent, right? So the promises looks very good, right? That they can do, they can handle all my tasks. I'm seeing that 10x productivity gains, but there are little risk as well associated, right? If you have heard, right, recently, right, in the company, I think Ninebox something company who have given the access to their database, AI agent deleted everything, right? Deleted everything. Not even a single data point was left in their database. So there are risks, right? As an engineer, you have to decide. I cannot afford to give my production access. We at Microsoft have three different environments, MCP, prod. We never give prod access to my agent, right? They cannot take the actions on that. I might test it on end. I might get the code. I test it out myself, deploy it, go to the cloud, raise my PR. All of that still is needed, and human supervision is very important. And it's not like you have given the goal and now you can go and relax. Or else your agent can take the full control and can do blunders, right? So that's where the rest is also involved, right? So we have to be full-fledged in control of my application. That's what the big picture looks like, right? So now you want to know what is an AI agent, how does it work, right? These are the four fundamental things inside my AI agent. And now I'll be going into the depth of each and every core pillar, how the session is all about. We'll go into LLM, then we'll go into planning, then we'll go into some memory discussions, then we'll build our own AI agent, right, so that you can correlate, and then we will be discussing our agentic patterns, right? So now AI agent is your LLM combined with planning, tools, memory, and actions. That's the outcome, right? Finally, actions is my outcome. It starts from planning, it goes to tool, From thoughts, you will see the actions coming out from your model. Now, let's discuss about the brain of the system, only brain. So now we all know that brain is all about large language model, right? And I have lot many brains available. How will you go and select, right, the best brain for your LLM? Right, there are, I mean, lot of, you can say, LLMs that are available. I can maybe check how many. Currently, it is showing me for my text-based models, right? I mean, this list keep on changing. Sometimes you get added. Right now, it is showing me 367. I saw around 500 as well, but they might have changed or removed, modified few of them. So right now, as per this, it is showing me 367 large language models, combined open source, closed source, right? All of them in a single, right? I'm just using the open router to check this, right? How many models we have. Now, if I want to get the best brain for my AI agent, I need to do benchmark for at least 2 to 3 top LLMs. That's how, as an engineer, you will be able to decide which LLM should I top go and select it. So, what as a I prefer, right? Or most of the folks as language models. That I can go with GPT-5, go in depth what they are testing in this index. Right? You can see intelligence index incorporates 10 different evaluations, benchmark, terminal bench, psychic coding, LCR, right? And I can go in depth of each one of them. LCR stands for long context reasoning. How good my model is at long context reasoning. So they tested all 80, right? There is a company who has already done all these testing and given me the results that this model performing best in terms of intelligence index. And you can see higher is the better. So obviously my good to have choice will be top two, top three models. And if I want to go in depth, I'll just scroll through and I can see all these benchmarks as an individual. And if you click on any one of them, you might be able to see what they mean, what they exactly did in that, right? All of that you can also do inside that, right? And in the time it will be opening, I'll showcase you. But yeah, this is how you have all the tests, all the benchmarks. So first thing is getting on the right set of intelligence. Now, second, I get a lot of these questions that I want my application to respond me within 2 seconds. Right, so there are different ways also, by the way, right, which I can be discussing in the with respect to LLM. But raw, let's say I want to have a raw LLM, I have taken that. I want the best speed for my model. And now you can look here is output tokens per second. Higher is the better. Again, right, this model is outputting 242 tokens in one, I mean, in 1 second, 242 tokens are coming out. So I want my speed to be high, right? Higher the tokens output, higher the speed, and lower is the latency. So I want my application to be having lower latency. You imagine the scale, right? If I give you 100 reviews, right? And it's a practical interview question. I have asked a lot of engineers and they don't able to answer, right? What are the different ways of optimizing my model speed? If I have 100 rows in my CSV or Excel file, I have the reviews of my product, right? Let's say I have a second column where my English review is there. I want a sentiment there, or let's say reasoning of what happened in that wrong, what user is talking about, whether they are talking about delivery issue, product issue, right? In the review on Amazon, let's say, I want the results in hardly, I would say, 30 seconds, all my 100 rows, right? Your single LLM takes 5 to 6 seconds to generate a sentiment and the issue description. Right? You go to ChatGPT, you ask a question, you get a response in 5 to 6 seconds. I want my entire 100 rows to be answered in, let's say, 10 seconds or 15 seconds, right? How will you do that? So I have to optimize speed, right? This is where speed comes in. I have to have my model faster, right? So I'll be first selecting the right model, which is already a faster, and then there are a bunch of techniques. Model quantization, you have tuning, all of that is advanced concept, but there are techniques to fasten my model. And finally, it drill down to my price as well. How I can go and get the best price for my model. So if I have a speed crunch, I'll go with SLM, right? Small language model. I'll go with Kimi E2 type model, right? Which is, sorry, I'll go with my this 7 billion to 9 billion parameter model, which is quite faster, so that I can go and get my speed for a smaller task and so on. So this selecting of brain is in the hand of an AI engineer. Getting the right brain for my application, because LLM is the one who will be taking all these decisions. Right? So this is where my brain comes in. So now you can imagine I have got my best brain or what strategies I can adopt, right? So you should be I mean, as per your application, what you are building, you should be able to decide if it requires a very complex reasoning, it has to go and route the queries into multiple paths, very complex problem to solve. I go with my best models like Cloud of this, right, which has a higher thinking capabilities, which are ranking on the top on my intelligence. But if it's like a quick task, I just want a sentiment classification of all my reviews. I can use Claude Sonnet, right? It has to read my text, give me the answer positive, negative, or neutral. If someone says, no, I want an open source model, I don't have to pay for my tokens, I go and use some open source models. I have my input, my image or input can come as a text, right? Users sometimes post an image also, right? If they are experiencing something bad about the product. So I have both as my input, I will go with the multi-model. So choosing the right brain, right model is the first thing. As an engineer, you have to little bit brainstorm, experiment, go to these benchmarks and figure it out whenever you are building anything inside your AI agents. Right? You are solving any problem, figure out which LLM will work for us in this use case. Right? Then just visualize, right? I always tell in my session that human intelligence is very much similar to, or I would rather switch it, right? Artificial intelligence is very much similar to human intelligence. Right? It is derived from human intelligence, if I tell you. So I'll not go into that depth, but if you see the pattern of your brain, they also have billions of neurons. We in our brain have billions of neurons, each one connected to each other. And then your brain have a tools, right? What are the tools that are available to you? Your eyes, your nose, your hands, your legs, everything is a tool. So now from agents, from brain to body. And this is where your tools, four fundamental pillars comes in, right? Planning your tools, your memories. Now we will see in depth what are these. Right, so brain I got, my LLM brain is sorted. I have selected my best brain. Right, let's say I have selected my Cloud Opus for my very complex task, and now I am going towards the body part. Right, I want to give my body so that my AI agent can take an action. How would human take the action? Right, so you see the analogy there. How human brains take the actions, right, decisions through all the neurons. Right, now it is coming to the body part. So the first is planning. How agents do the planning under this hood. Right? What happens when we saw that it breaks down my user role into to-dos? What it exactly doing? This everyone should know, right? This is using something called chain of thoughts, which is a prompting technique published by Google Research Brain Team, and it's the phenomenal fundamental of all your reasoning models, right? It's the backbone of all your reasoning models, how the reasoning model work under the hood, right? So this is chain of thoughts. I'll spend little time and explain you what they have done in their research paper, right? So there is a research paper. This is a website, by the way. You can bookmark it, and obviously you can take notes while I'm teaching. You can take screenshots, anything you can do, but I can share you this link so that you can bookmark it and have it with you, right? So this is my paper, Chain of Thoughts, Elicit Reasoning in Large Language Model, which came in 2023 only, right? Google Research Brain Team. And this paper fundamentally talks about, right? Fundamentally talks about one fundamental, I mean, one clever thing they have done to the prompting, right? So I'll tell you what this paper is all about. They give a lot of problems, right? Like arithmetic reasoning, logical reasoning, LCR, long context reasoning problem statements, where they are our problems and they wanted LLM to answer. And I'm talking about 2023, right? You see 2023. The model was giving wrong answers. It was not able to decode the problem statement. It was not able to reason it. They did fundamental change that, hey, I have tested a lot of models on the accuracy, right, the result rate of all these benchmarks, but they were giving me wrong answers. What should I do now, right? So they did a very clever change
Ignore that
inside
man.
there, added one line, let's think step by step. And that's exactly what chain of thought, right? If you imagine the structure of chain in your mind, how does chain look like, right? They are the metallic part, right? You can imagine the chain structure, some metallic interlocking pattern, and you can increase the size of your chain. It's like 10 meter, 15 meter, 50 meter, any size chain you can have it from the market depending on your application. And these chains are nothing but steps in your chain of thoughts. So you can have one step, five steps, seven steps, depending on how the problem is being solved. And that's what they did, and model did a phenomenal jump or increase in the accuracy, right? So you see here, they have given the exact problem statement, also one problem statement. There are multiple in the paper. I went to the market, bought 10 apples, gave two to the neighbor, two to the repairman. I went and bought five more, ate one, right? Normal logical reasoning questions. Model was giving wrong answer. And then they just added one line, let's think step by step. The model break down the high level goal into simple steps, and it was able to do much better. So that had become fundamental of my, you can imagine large language model, how they can become more accurate. And now it is by default, right? I mean, by default, the newer models do that. I don't have to explicitly mention. They have already integrated this. But that's where the fundamental algorithm chain of thoughts, which all my AI agents or this newer set of tools do it under the hood. So they use chain of thoughts, break down your problem into multiple steps, which is the linear way of doing it. Right? And linear path which model allows to have it multiple, you can say multiple steps while the user has given a high level goal. Right? So you give a high level goal that hey, I have to improve our API performance. If you are using Cloud Code, I'll show you that live demo once we'll reach that stage. If you use Cursor, you give a high level goal. The first thing that these agents do is make a plan where you will have these tools. So it will think step by step and make a plan out of it that hey, to achieve this task, first step I'll do this, second step I'll do this, third step I will look at my optimization strategy. So that's how my planning system exactly work under the hood, using chain of thoughts, breaking down of my goals into to-dos. Right? Once it is done, tool interaction I think we already discussed. You are the one who will be designing these tools. And when I say you will be deciding, it doesn't mean that you give all the tools at it. Okay? Again, you will go in a problem. I'll tell you the problem also. I think this is a concept also we can discuss. The context window. How many of you know what is context window? What is context window of the LLM? How many of you know about the context window? Don't know? Yes, yes, yes. Don't know? Okay. Okay. Second thing, right? Now you want to know planning. I'll talk about a little about context window, right? So you see that when we were choosing our best LLM, right? When we saw the intelligence, that okay, based on the intelligence index, which was my best models, based on the speed, which model can give me the faster output, right? Now you know output tokens per second, and token means this, right? Your text output. Everything in AI is tokens. This is the smallest unit in AI. Whatever I ask, it is a token, right? You can imagine for simplicity, which is I'm not going into again depth how this is converted to a token, but you can imagine each and every word inside your AI is a token, right? Now higher is the right, that's what we know, speed in terms of speed. But what is the maximum size I can fill in? That is what context window is, right? Context window is the maximum limit I can fill inside my LLM. That's the highest limit. Right? So there is limit for each and every LLM. You just imagine this analogy. I'll give you the analogy again so that you can understand like how we did for APIs. Imagine you went to the market and bought a new register, right? New journal, empty notebook journal for you, which has 100 pages, empty. You started writing from the day one, and every day you keep on writing one page. Right? Towards the end of the day, you write how your day went, what you did today. So you journal it out, and every day you do this activity. You have total of 100 pages. In 100 day, you will be able to finish that book. Right? You cannot do that, and you will not be able to write anything after 100 day. Right? If you do one page every day. That's exactly what context window is. What is the maximum size I can have my tokens inside my LLM in a chat, right? When I'm doing something, when model is responding to me, what is the max size for it? That's what context window, right? You see here, higher is the better, but there is a misconception. People think that the best or the highest context window model is the best one, right? There is no significant such that. It's just that it can accommodate more tokens, that's it. But performance-wise, this doesn't matter, right? You can see GPT 5.4 has the 1.05 million context window. Doesn't mean this is the best model. No. This represents what is the maximum size we can fill my context with. And when I say fill the context, that means you ask a question, your model respond to it, then again you ask a question, you do a follow-up, you keep on doing this activity till wet time, right? That is what you are filling the context window. And generally, right, this is a rule, thumb rule. I will not say that this is something which is mandatory, but if you read some articles about Claude Code, if you go and read about this article, right, Context Road, which is written by your ChromaDB. Again, right, I'll give you one more good article, not discussing right now, right? Context Road. They discussed that after 60 to 70%, right, how increasing token impacts the LLM. That once you are reaching the 60 to 70% limit, don't go beyond that. If it is 1 million, you can only fill up to 600k, 700k. Don't go beyond that. Your performance of the LLM keep on declining. They have actually proved it. Very good article. Again, copy link it is. I'll share you very good article that how the performance of the model deteriorates with your context near about your limitation of 1 million. Right? It doesn't matter. I have a 1 million and fill the entire 1 million. No, my model will perform badly. It will start hallucinating and giving you the wrong answers. So now you got the answer. I mean, you got the context window idea, right? I cannot give my tools that, hey, as an engineer, take 100 tools. No. Again, who is coming in the picture? Engineer is coming in the picture. You will be the one who is deciding for this application how many tools I need to give access. If only 4, only 5, only 10, go and give only those access. Because all these tools are part of my context window. So I have to be vigilant, right? And what is tools? Anything external to my LLM. I need to connect Notion, I need to connect Canva, Gmail, my Google Drive, right? My Microsoft Word, Microsoft Excel, Copilot, anything you want to connect with your LLM becomes your part of my tool. And finally, your memories, right? Like how we have, and I'll actually prove it to you everything. I'll give you a mental picture, right? Whatever we have seen right now, we have seen through a deck, and I can make you visualize everything via code also, but there will be nothing, a picture in your mind, right? Like this is code. This is, by the way, if I tell you, this is my agentic code. This is my agent code where I am using something. But can you visualize an agent by looking at this code? No, right? I mean, you cannot have a picture of an agent. So to give you a picture, I'll show you one open source tool where you can visualize an agent. That's just for the picture. Like when someone say Apple, you get the Apple image. So when someone say agent, you should get an image. So that way I'll show you that tool to visualize it. But under the hood, it is doing all these same things. Right? So from brain, which is your LLM, to body, we have already seen planning, which is chain of thoughts, your tool interaction, which is connecting to my external world, and finally you see the memory part. Now, this also very simple in a sense. All your API calls, right? We discussed about API calls. If I don't give memory, all my API calls are independent. That means it doesn't have any context. For example, if I start my conversation on ChatGPT and if I remove memory from it, for example, just imagine ChatGPT. If I snatch away memory, let's say I don't have a memory in ChatGPT. I asked a question that, hey, my name is Divil, I'm solving some assignment. Explain me LLM in depth. It will give me the answer. It will go with the model that, hey, this is your answer, how LLM works. Now, if I do a follow up, can you give me some analogies where LLM is used? Right? Can you give me the analogy that if I want to build on top of it, my model fails there? The reason all my API calls are asynchronous, right? If they are asynchronous, if I do a API hit, I get a response. Again, I hit a API, I get a response. They don't have any connection. They are independent, asynchronous. It is like I'm hitting a server, getting a response. So how should I maintain that context? What ChatGPT does? Right? I can go up, follow up on that same question. That give me example of this. I don't write each and everything. I'll prove it to you, right? So that is the reason I need memory when I'm building my own AI agents. I need to attach a memory. Without memory, it's like your AI agent is clueless. What is happening? It will not be able to make a sense of your inputs. It will not be able to make a conversation out of it. You ask a question, you get a response. That's it. If you have a follow up, it doesn't know what you asked in your previous iteration. Nothing is connected. All your API calls are asynchronous. I'll prove it to you. But that is the reason why we need memory. Right? You got the answer. And similar, right? Now we have short-term memory, long-term memory. That means if I'm asking something very basic, right? Any explanation, that is like a short-term memory. My model don't need to remember that. But if I'm wanted my model to save some context about me, who I am, where do I work, what is my profession, and that's what exactly ChatGPT does. It knows you. If you want to know this, go to ChatGPT and ask, based on memory, tell me who I am. And it will give you the description because it has saved something about you in the memory. But they doesn't know what you asked in the morning. Let's say what I asked in my first iteration, right? They don't know because that these are short-term lived, right? It doesn't know I asked about YC company. If I go and ask a new chat that what I asked you in my previous response, they cannot answer that because that's like a short term. You ask something, you got a response, vanish, right? And long memory is energized context. That is your long term memory. And same thing happens with human. Same thing, right? If I give you again the analogy, let's say example, right? What you ate in your lunch or dinner 2 weeks back, right? I mean, I don't remember. Most of you don't remember what you ate in your lunch 2 weeks back, right? Do you remember? No, right? You don't remember unless and until it's a special occasion for you and you have that 2 weeks back, right? You don't remember that. But if I ask you how much you scored in your 10th class, right? Everyone, how much you scored in your 10th class, everyone remember, right? That percentage or whatever the CGPA. So that is like a memory for my AI agents, right? Long term and short term model decides which are the important facts about you and save it. And I'll show you how to visualize. And finally, you will see the execution which is coming out from your model. Finally, the actions. So what your agent is doing now to complete the picture, right? If you complete the picture, it is planning, it is calling the tools, it is deciding the sequence of tools, right? In which sequence I need to call. As an engineer, I have just given the access that take 5 tools access. But based on your query, it has to decide which sequence I need to call the tool, right? So for let's say my previous example, I'll come to this example also because that is exactly what we have done now. The Google Drive and the Gmail one. First, it has to look on the Google Drive, find the outline, then go to Gmail, right? So sequence is there inside my ask that I want you to go and figure out the outline and then send me an email, right? So that's the intelligence what AI's agents are bringing in. And you take this example, onboard our new developer, and that's the genuine problem we have solved in our company as well. So once anyone new person joins our team, right, or maybe in your team also, you have an onboarding buddy, right? Every manager assigns a buddy to it so that they can help them to onboard, understand the code base, where it is present, giving the access, right? So for 1 month, it's like an onboarding buddy for that person. If any new joinee comes in, right, a college fresher is coming in. So what we have done, we have built an AI agent now where we have given as a buddy to that every person, right? Now you have to query that agent that I'm a new joinee, give me my 7 day plan, what in which order I have to go, right? So it will tell that these are the repos you need to get access. These are the forms that you have to fill for HR related things, for your salary related things, and other all the part, right? This is where GitHub repo is present. This is where our architecture designs are present. So AI agent is helping them to get all these things because we have given all the access. So agent is planning at which stage the user is. Tools we have given, right? We have given GitHub access, we have given the GitHub repo access, we have given the Teams access, Slack access. So that's how agent is interacting with that user. Memory knows at which stage the user is, right? For example, user come and say, I am done with first two tasks. So agent knows already that now it has to go to step 3 and step 4. Right? So that's how agent is planning and putting it all together, right? Now, before I go further in the session, I'll give you a mental picture of what AI agents, if you can, if you want to visualize it, right? So now don't ask, I mean, any question, what is this tool? What does this tool work and how does it work? I'm not teaching you this tool, I'm just giving you a high level picture so that you can understand, right? You can understand the picture of an AI agent, right? So you might have heard about this tool, you might not have heard about this tool. As an engineer, I write a code, this is a no code tool. So this is just that a no code tool which is writing a code on my behalf, but this is good for visualization. That's where I am showing you an AI agent, right? Since I have used this, I know I have built a lot of my automations, right? So I know this tool. You don't have to worry about this tool because again, I'm not teaching you this tool. I'm just giving you the visualization of my AI agent. So now you see, I will call my AI agent out. And now you can visualize like A for Apple, you get an image of Apple, and now say A for agent, you should get this picture in your mind. Right? Nothing is connected. Whatever we have learned so far, if I define it again in my own terms, AI agent is this smart large language model connected to planning, tools, memory, and actions. Actions is what it is coming out, right? That is the definition of my agent. Now you see, if I do hi, it is giving me, right, hi, I mean, it is giving me error in flow because I have nothing attached, right? If I do this, let's say only now if I send hi, it will be done. Right? You see some metadata of my chat input hi, but there is no response because there is no brain in the picture, right? Who will reply me? There is no brain. Now I will, first thing I'll give is the brain. You see the chat model, right? I click on this, I have all my brains, which this as a tool allows me to connect. Right? So there are limitations of this tool in a sense, which large language models they can allow me to connect, right? I can see Anthropic models, all OpenAI chat models. That means I can connect to all OpenAI models via Azure, right? Google, Gemini, you can see Mistral, Kimi K2. So good number of good models and Open Router. By the way, I have not discussed about Open Router. I'll be using Open Router in my code when we'll go to the our AI agent case study that we need to solve today. I'll be using Open Router. So Open Router is like a plethora of models. It has one unified interface. How can I connect to all of these, right? You saw this 367, I can connect to all these 367. This is the flexibility what it allows me. It has Gemini, it has OpenAI models, it has all the Anthropic models, right? Every model is there, whatever this tool is, and I'm able to connect to it, right? So if I search Sonnet, it should be there. I think Anthropic, and you see Anthropic Claude Sonnet, Claude Opus. So I don't have to go and buy Claude API, I have to buy Open API, Gemini API. If I am looking for a unified solution, I take the Open Router key and I will have my one single interface to connect to my any model, right? So that is the advantage. So I get that, right? All of that is there, but let's say I selected my OpenAI chat model, right? So yeah, right, OpenAI chat model, I'll be selecting my account. I think it should be working. Now if I check hi, right, now if I do hi, I am hitting the model and I'm getting a response, right? How can I help you today? Maybe you can tell me, right? So this is where I have connected my chat GPT like an application, right? You see my brain is connected. Now if you see, I do this task, Mm, let's say my name is Divij. Can you explain me how LLM works in depth? All the steps, right? I want to know the black box. That what exactly it does when I ask a question on ChatGPT or LLM. What are the different steps it do under the hood? I want to know that, and my model is answering me this particular question, right? Like if I go to ChatGPT, also it will be able to answer me that tokenization, bidding, right? All of that high level stuff. What model do? Now it is drafting me a response, and it will be a quite longer response. That's where it is taking time, right? You see the latency, by the way. This is where I was talking about the latency, that some of my applications are having a high latency, right? Latency means time taking. So I want my answers sometimes to be quick. I want my answers to be faster. So I should know which LLM I should be using. I think this is using GPT-5. Yeah, I got my response. Yeah, GPT-5 mini. Okay, so you got an answer, right? Which is a very long. That's why it was taking a time as well. Hi, Devesh. Below is the in-depth explanations, by-step explanation of your large language model. How does it work? Right? In a summary, first it has given it's a sequence of input tokens and all of that, and then you see it has a detailed answer of each and every step. Right? Tokenization, which I told you, breaking down of my words. Then you have an embeddings. Then you have your self-attention. Then you have your predictions. Right? All of that it is giving me. That's fine, right? Now you see, which deeper follow would you like, Devin? Right? Question mark. If I ask, what is my name? Will it be able to tell me? This is N10 tool, and I'm just wanted to give you the visual explanation of this AI agent working, right? So no memory, yes, exactly. No memory, no nothing, right? Now this is a standalone. That's where I was coming. Why memory needed, right? It doesn't know my name. It is ending its response with my name, but it doesn't know my name, right? I don't know, you haven't told me your name because this is a standalone query, right? There is no memory attached to it. And that's the reason why I need memory. Right? My standalone system, ChatGPT does it for us. Claude does it for us. But when I want to build my own applications, own agentic solutions, I need to provide this memory. Right? And memory means a database. I can use Postgres, Redis, all my traditional ones, but as of now, I'll be using, let's say, simple memory, which means storing all my conversations. Right? You see here, it is written also. How many past interactions the model should receive as the context. So now it will store it. Right? If I go and ask anything, now it has the context. I'll say, explain me hypothesis testing. For example, right? I am Suraj. So for example, now it will go and answer me. Now it has the memory. You see, right? Memory also got tick mark. That means memory got updated. And I have given two things. My agent has the memory, it has the brain. Both the things are done. I cannot add any more brain, right? That's where you also have one brain. I also have one brain. I mean, entire species have one brain. You have one memory. Model also has a one memory, right? Long term, short term, both defined here. But tools is something which is flexible for me, right? I'll just use maybe one tool, two tool. It doesn't matter, right? So if I just go here, right, again, that's what I'm again and again telling you. My everything is connected here already, right? So you just understand what is tool, what is memory, what is happening. So now, whom to send, I have let AI decide. Subject, let AI write. Message also let AI write. Now it will write on my behalf, but I have given one tool to it, right? So you got an information, right? You see, my tools is still active. I can connect to Notion, right? Though I have counted Notion as of now, but if I go and connect my Notion account, if I connect my credentials, right? If I go and select, okay, I need to connect my Notion account, create new credential, get my secret ID, I have to go to Notion and get these details myself. So again, this part is in the hands of an engineer. Your AI agent cannot solve this access part. You have to go to your downstream application and get your API keys or credentials sorted out, right? But I have this option always enabled. So you are the one who is deciding, right? Now, if you see here, it has given me the entire answer that what is, let's say, hypothesis testing, and this is I'm asking any questions, right, for that matter, and it has know about me. Now, if I ask what is my name, since I have asked in my previous response, it has stored it in the memory. Your name is there, you mentioned it earlier. Right now, everything is there in the memory. You see the count also. Agent is doing simple memory, chat, and this. Right now, I can do this also. Summarize the above message. Right, I'm building on top of each other. Summarize the above message in, let's say, in 100 words, right? Or let's say 50 words, right? Why to have longer message? Summarize the above message in 50 words and send it to my inbox, let's say, right? Uh, this. And I'll give any random email ID, for example. I've given it. Now it will call tool which is connected to this NLN and it will go and do these actions in a nutshell, right? It will complete all the actions. So you see from input to plan, this is the planning, right? It has to update, it has got me the answer, it has got the summary, right? If you see here, it has updated something. Here it has created a summary, explaining me the hypothesis testing, it got some summary. Here it has sent the email, 50-word summary for hypothesis testing, and this is the message which exactly I have got onto my email. It automatically picked, get a tick mark selected, right? Simple memory got updated, and finally I have my confirmation coming. This is your AI agent. Now, if you want to visualize, have this picture in the mind, right? Have this picture that, okay, I can visualize what is AI agent, right? One brain, one memory, multiple tools is what your AI agent is all about. Perfect, right? So this is done. Now we are coming to our phase two of agentic AI. Phase one is done. What is an AI agent? I hope everyone is clear. Now we will be going into agentic AI and then we have the hands-on part of it, right? So now, before we go into that, so you now understood how they adapt, make a complex decision in real time, right? So what is your, I mean, I'll show you a few billboards as well, and then I will ask you one question. So there are job postings right now in the market where people wants to hire AI agent, right? You see here, he's the founder, by the way. Please apply only if an AI agent can do this task. And fire crawler agent is something web scrapping. Right? You might see these kind of a billboards already in San Francisco, right? Stop hiring humans, hire Eva. So all these things are already live, right? There are research agents who are publishing the research papers, which is written by AI, right? So we are living in that era. The research papers are even written by AI, and the panelist doesn't know about it. The reason is they are anonymous, right? So they have proved it out that there was this company, Intrology, who wrote a paper and it got published. But later they came out and said that it was written by AI agents. So I mean, different part, right? You see the coding agents, you see different things are happening inside the coding agents. You have Cloud Code now, you have Codex now, Kimi K2, right? A lot of coding agents have come in and they are phenomenal while writing the codes, right? And if you just look at this benchmark, which is officially known in software engineering, known as SWE benchmark, already models are at 84% of it, right? So this is, I think, Opus 4.5. But if you check for Opus 4.7, it is already standing at 84%. And if I tell you in terms of equivalent, it is equivalent to what 20 years of experience in software engineering. I mean, you can imagine a senior guy, a principal guy of 20 years of experience in software engineering is equivalent to 84%. That kind of a level design, architectural design, coding problems, and SWE benchmark can solve. So, my question, is this the end game for human jobs? What do you think? Is this the end game? Do you really think that what they are posting it is happening? Absolutely not. Absolutely, right? No, not even almost. I saw some person people are writing almost no. This is the parody, right? You have to think about. Nothing is like, right? I mean, even today, I think Batch has published Batch, if you are following this newsletter, right? Today only they published this batch newsletter about AI jobs, right? Today only they published that more jobs are coming in, right? More jobs will be coming in. How people wants to upskill in AI, what kind of problems AI is solving, and all of that. Today only they have published that there is more jobs that AI will be creating, right? And it doesn't matter that people are saying job will be gone or AI agents will do it. No, the reason I tell you, right, because this is something not happening on the individual level, right? This is something happening on the global level. More problems are coming out. People are building more features, right? And that's where it is. Uh, I think there was something. I'm just trying to look at that article itself about AI jobs. Hmm, Andrew and yeah, right. Right? So more number of jobs coming in, right? That's what he is also saying. Yes, by arguing that AI will create more roles than it destroys, right? This is the main thing he is talking about. That they are seeing, right? The numbers are seeing, by the way, right? They are not claiming it, they are not doing it, they are claiming it based on the data of unemployment and everything. That new jobs are coming in. There is a new set of skill in the market. Obviously, if you upskill, you have the right set of skill how you can operate the AI agents. But people are looking at more jobs because someone needs to command these agents. And obviously, in a company, there might be few folks will be needed, but there are more avenues through which these jobs are increasing. Right? There's new problems that are coming in. So the real truth is, AI agents aren't taking jobs; they're creating new opportunities. So just think it of from this perspective, right? I think you'll be able to correlate better. Iron Man, right? I hope everyone knows, everyone has seen this movie. Tony Stark standalone can do X amount of things. But when he's inside that suite, when he can call the Jarvis, he can fly, he can do n number of things, right? That's the superpower that we have got via Cloud Code and Codex or maybe Cursor. So that I can build faster, right? I can use Cloud Code. What time it used to takes me for shipping a feature, 5 weeks, 6 weeks, has slashed down to just 3 to 4 days. And that's what I am witnessing, and all other people are witnessing, right? That AI is writing the codes it has already taken. But does that mean a person should not know the coding? The answer is no. Right? Again, you see the Android NG interview, coding is must to have skill, right? Must to have skill. And even if you feel, I mean, if I feel that my coding abilities are going into the hands of an AI agent, I can still say that in a month I'll try to solve one or two questions myself, right? So that my that skill should not go away, right? Though I want to build faster in my company, but as my brain cells should not go away, I'll be trying my own code, let's say in a month, let's say one or two questions, right? Why not? So if you are coming from the traditional background where you did your programming, where you know how to write the code, that is the most important skill in AI world, right? You cannot survive that. People are saying vibe coding. I don't like that term vibe coding. It's better to be as an AI assisted coding, right? You let AI write code, no harm, but you assist alongside that, right? That's where the futuristic applications are being built. That you leverage AI at your benefit and make something very, you can say, interesting application in a very short span of time. That's what the goal is, to become a 10x productive, right? So I hope that is clear what is happening. Now let's explore the agentic pattern. We have majorly five agentic pattern, and this is phase three, right? So phase one was all about what is an AI agent. Phase two is just about the how is it looking at the danger side of things. There is no danger for that matter. Third phase is now about the agentic AI, right? This is where we will be talking about agentic AI, and next is doing the hands-on, right? So next part is hands-on of whatever we have learned, so that we can translate it into a coding application. Now, agentic AI. Now you understood what is agents. Agentic AI is a, you can say, application-driven thing where you use agents to solve a business problem. And there are some patterns in the industry which people have laid it out. And now your problem can be fitted into these patterns. So if you want to solve anything, right? Let's say you are working on some problem or you have something in your mind, it can be fitted into these 5 or 6 patterns, right? And majorly, if I tell you 3 patterns are most important, whatever patterns we will be discussing right now, right? Agentic patterns. What is agentic patterns? Using AI agents, how can I solve these problems? And the first one in the list is basic responder, right? I personally feel we should not even call this as an pattern, but yeah, that is listed. So basic responder is the beginning of the AI era, right? You give a query, you write a good prompt to the LLM, and it is generating your response. And all your chat, you can say chat bots, your customer care bots, where I can go and feed the prompt that, hey, you are a Zomato customer care bot. You have to answer your queries patiently. This is what you can do. This is what you cannot do. All the things packed in my prompt and given to the model. So that is like a basic responder, right? Now LLM will behave like that they are representing my company and they can help user to navigate through their questions. So that is like a basic responder. Second, very important is router pattern, right? This is widely used. I told you 3 pattern, right? This is widely used. Wow, and I mean how it is used, what are the different applications I'll be talking about. But here, the router pattern, your AI agents there is a first agent you can imagine or the LLM who decides this query should be routed to which department, right? For example, I'll take my example, I mean Microsoft example. We have a lot of products, we get a lot of incidents from the customers, right? Customers facing some issues, they have some feature requests. First agent or first LLM should have to decide this is talking about Teams, Word, PowerPoint, Excel, Azure, right? Windows, multiple products, right? What this query is talking about. The person is facing issue with Teams, or is it facing with PPT, deck, Excel file, right? Similarly, Zomato. Zomato has this kind of a router pattern in their agentic system, and now you will be able to correlate in the architecture diagrams, right? If I have shown you this, right, this is a mixture of router and the multi-agent pattern, right? I'll show you live. What was the link? Yeah, Food AI Buddy. So they have their official blog, right? Zomato has their official blog. You see the architecture now. Your input message classifier, right? Classifier and router is one of the same thing, right? Router means classifying to the relevant intent. Your AI is classifying this query, is it related to food? Is it related to delivery? Is it related to invoice? Where this should be classified, router pattern. And most important, if I tell you right, in any company, you'll find router pattern and multi pattern throughout. These are the 2 patterns. If you look at carefully, you will find majorly 80% of applications will be using these 2 patterns. Right? We have at least, I would say, 5 to 10 different problems where we are using router and multi-agent pattern. So this is router and multi-agent I'll be talking about the next, but this is router, right? Where this query exactly go to? Because I cannot make a single chatbot. I cannot make a single prompt. Why? Why should I make a single prompt that you can do everything? No. First intent is to classify it. Whether it's a product related query, whether it's an invoice related query. Now let's say I have different LLM calls. This is only talking about invoice. The prompt given to it is only about invoice. That you are in finance or invoice expert, billing related queries. You will be receiving customer questions related to invoice. How should I download my invoice? Everything related to, let's say, billing and invoice. This is my food related. I'm not able to, I didn't get the right food. The food was spilled. It has a bad order, whatever is related to food. This agent is only able to solve that part. This is only delivery part. My food is not delivered. It is showing me delivered, not delivered. It shows me 30 minutes away. So you imagine that first it is routing and you have multiple apps, right? So this is my router pattern where your query should be routed to the right set of intent to the LLM, and each one can have their own prompts, each one can have their own tools, which becomes my multi-agent in the next part, right? So this is my router pattern. My intent should be right. Now see tool calling, right? Yeah, tool calling is also, I would say, agent only. This is your agent, what we studied, what we learned right now. So they are calling a pattern called tool calling, where now single LLM, right? Single model or single agent has multiple tools, right? Single agent. This is my single agent, for example, LLM, right? I can call this entire thing as an agent because it has the LLM, it has the memory, it has the tools. That's what the definition we just studied, right? So it's a single agent, not multi-agent, single agent. Now, let's say Zomato have given its APIs. Zomato have given its own documents that our refund policy is this, right? LLM cannot do the decision by its own. If I have a chatbot deployed as an agent, right, as an application, if I go to Zomato chatbot and say I didn't like the food, refund my money, and it has refunded me, right? So it cannot happen like that. So they have to have the documents, they have to have the refund policies, which LLM should understand. And even for that critical decision, if user is talking about a refund, it will be routing to, let's say, a human agent. And that's exactly what happens if you have ever used Zomato chatbot. If you ask any generic things, my invoice, my download, it will keep on nudging you. But when you say, no, I want my refund, you say twice, thrice, it will connect to your human agent, right? It will automatically pass it to the human, and physical human then joins the chat and so on. So router pattern, right? Now you can link to that. Now you can visualize those patterns. Tool calling is my normal agent, single agent, right? Where I am, my LLM is deciding which tool to call for that matter, right? What we just saw this example, right? This is tool calling. You saw LLM, this is tool calling. Single agent, multiple tools, right? Multiple tools, which is LLM deciding which tool to call. This is my tool calling or single agent pattern. Now you see multi-agent, right? This is again router pattern and this one most widely adopted. As the name suggests, right? Multi-agent, you have multiple agents talking to each other. You have one main agent who is sitting on the top. There are different names, by the way. Some people call manager agent, some people call an orchestrator agent, right? This is also known as the orchestrator. You have the main agent, which is deciding again which agent to pass, right? Routing. This is again solving the routing in the backend, that which agent should I call? But these are my standalone agents now. They are not LLMs. I mean, they have their own LLM, this has their own LLM and tools, this has their own LLM and tools. So now when I say agent, you should get this picture in the mind. That agent is LLM, tools, memory, three things given to a system. So this has its own memory and tools, this has its own memory and tools, this has its own memory and tools, this has its own memory and tool, but everything is connected in a single app. That is where the industry is shifting towards multi-agent systems. And I'll give you the example, an analogy. I have a very close friend of mine who is working in Make My Trip, right? Because this is a very easy to understand problem. I could have told you about our multi-agent at Microsoft also, right? Like that incident one, which I was telling you, that is like a multi-agent, right? First, it routes to the relevant department, and then that agent will go and take the action. So let's say if it is belonging to my team, right? It is related to my product, which our team owns. If once it is routed to us, our multi-agent will go and solve it. It will find TSDs, which is troubleshooting guides. It will try to get the steps and try to go to that incident and solve that. So that is like a multi-agent taking the action. You see the example of Make My Trip. As a manager agent, this is the main interface between user and your application, right? They two are interacting. Your user is coming to Make My Trip and telling a query that, hey, I want to plan a trip to Goa, for example, right? Goa for 5 days. Now this agent is giving this query to your sub agents, right? This is what it is giving to your sub agents. That this is, let's say, hotel agent, this is your flight agent, this is your planning agent. Your flight agent is only responsible to get you the cheapest flight tickets. And in my query, I have mentioned I want to go for 5 days. Let's say I want to plan in August, right? I am planning in July or August. So this agent has given him go and search the flights for July and August, which dates are possible. This agent is looking for hotels. This agent is looking for my planning. like how the itinerary should look like. All of them working independently, all of them working parallelly. If you can think it of, right? They don't have anything. They are working in parallel. Flight agent is working in parallel. Hotel agent is working in parallel. All of them bring the results back to the manager agent, and that's what exactly multi-agent pattern is all about. Most widely adopted. The last pattern is the autonomous, right? I'll give you a quick summary after this. Last pattern is autonomous agent. Very few applications also built on this, where you find the stakes are really high, right? I mean, stakes of going wrong is high. So mostly in healthcare, medical side, right? You have autonomous pattern where your generator agent can be, let's say, Claude. Your validator can be your GPT 5x, right? Codex or 5x, whatever. I mean, different validator agent. This is different. This is validator. This is validating the response is correct. It is doing the right job, right? So it's like a two expert reviews. Right? I can use generator agent something else, validator agent something different LLM, and I can build this autonomous pattern. So that I'm just validating and double assuring that the outputs are correct. Because in healthcare, in medical, or let's say law, the consequences are really high. Right? So these are my 5 different patterns inside what we can define the agentic AI. Right? So again, I'll just quickly scan through it, right? We started off with agentic AI. First is your basic responder, where model given a prompt, decide or give you the response. Simple. 2023 era. Write the prompt, write an LLM, give an LLM, get your application done. Router pattern, your LLM decides which route to go through or where I should pass this. And you have different LLM, human in loop, anything you can imagine. Right? So there you have the routing done. Tool calling, you have attached multiple tools. Your LLM decide which tool to call. This is known as tool calling on a single agent. Right? This is my single agent. Then you have multi-agent where your first agent is dividing the task amongst child agent. They are doing all their work independently and coming back to the manager with their each and individual task. So they can do it parallelly, they can give their results, talk to each other, right? They are all connected to each other. And that's how exactly Claude Code works, Cursor works nowadays. It's all multi-agent. And finally, autonomous, where your MongoDB, the application stakes are high, where you want to validate with some different agents. So you have a two different generator agent and validator agent who is validating the response, one or the other. And now you have a different by domain. I mean, this is the generic overview, right? But people are building different specialized coding agents, right? You see Cursor, Claude Code. You have research agents like Perplexity. If you have used Perplexity, right? That's like a research agent who is doing an internet research and giving me the response. You have Julius AI, which is data analyst. So people are building niches now. And that's where exactly the next wave is, right? I mean, I talked about the employment part, right? So people are adopting this niche that, okay, I will go and build something in my niche, which they think something is not solved yet, right? So this is Julius AI, which is data analyst, right? You have Manus AI, which is mostly for your marketing and all that stuff. It automates your marketing campaigns. Manus AI, if you have heard about this, right? Very powerful agent, right? I mean, the what your Meta wants us to buy this from $1 billion, right? So I don't know if it happened or not so far, but yeah, Manus got. I don't know whether they are acquired or not. Manus TD, right? But Meta offered them, right? And got blocked $2 billion, right, to acquire the Manus. Right? You can imagine that. Well, I mean, 6 months old, 7 months old startup was coming for an acquisition for 2 billion. So they came up with Manus AI, which is mostly marketing. Now, I think a lot of questions people are asking in chat, anything for HR, anything for healthcare, right? I got two things. So you have this website, right? I mean, there are a lot of AI agents, right? Which I also don't know. So you can bookmark this link. There is an AI for that. That means itself, site itself. So there is an AI for that. You go to task, you scroll through it, right? Business, marketing, software, relationship, productivity, right? So I can see what are the productivity tools and agents that are available. You scroll through the categories, try to find for yourself, right? You see spirituality. So people are building now niches, and that's where the trend looks like. I mean, I am connected with a lot of my founders, people, right? I mean, I'm consulting them in their AI projects, consultant, right? So we are building a lot of great products, and I keep on hearing these ideas how we navigate very niches. I mean, if I tell you someone is building for forest, can you imagine forest? So that's where domain knowledge comes in. I mean, you and I don't have any knowledge about forest work, right? We have never went to forest or know the problems inside the forest. But who is expert, who is 20 years there, they have the problem, but they want to build an agentic solution. So their problems are there in the niches which are still untapped, which are still not figured out. Right? Traditional, right? Marketing, you see there, productivity. Now what you have to do, go here, you try with this thing, what is happening. Right? You see, notice what they are doing, and AI in turn one message away all your tasks. Okay, let's see what they are doing. I haven't tried it out. I don't know what, but I can simply see their landing page and I can tell you that this is multi-agent. Right? Why? Because someone is note taking, someone is task, someone say I can help you with social media. So they have created a multi-agent where they will ask me all my accesses and they have built the application. You heard about CloudBot, right? Which got very famous, Modbot. Now they call it as Modbot, right? Modbot, CloudBot, which got assistant, right? It got very famous when it just came in because it is open source, right? Open Claude can do connect to my Gmail, all of that task, right? Which is again free to install, but comes with a risk, right? I mean, you give all your accesses, so there is a risk, right? In a sense, how they can access your Gmail and everything else. But at least if I'm using in my local, still I'm fine, right? That's inside my local system only, and I'm using a local LLM only. That's where I can still use. Maybe I can talk about local LLM if you want it towards the end. But you got a point, right? That there are agent by domains, and now people are building niches inside that, right? So if I talk about my engineering workflow, how the typical engineering workflow looks like. So this is something like first I'll get the requirement, which is like a planning agent. I have my design architectural agent, right? Once I have planned that, okay, I want to solve this problem, my architecture agent has to decide which database I need. What component should I take in my front end? What should be the backend logic? Where should be our API keys are written? So entire architectural design is my second step. And then you have your coding agent, which will start implementing the code part of it, right? Once I get the code, I will have my testing agent, QA agent, right? Or I can test my own, I can say test cases so that I can validate my code is working, it is solving all the edge cases. And finally, once I am satisfied, I'll go and deploy it. So that's a typical AI engineering workflow looks like, right? And I mean, nowadays, even earlier what used to happen, you have different people to do that, right? Generally, like code you will write, architecture, maybe the principal level guy will write. And generally, I mean, it's followed in most of the companies that architecture designs is given by senior or principal levels. Then you go and write a code if you are a junior or let's say mid-level senior. So that's how it is being done throughout, right? In the software industries. Now it is changing. You have different agents which were sitting on the different aspect, who is helping you plan, who is helping you architecture. One agent who is only specialized for writing these codes. And finally, as an engineer, I'll go deploy and test it out. Right? Deployment is still, I would say, a little manual thing, right? We haven't automated the deployment part that agent can go and deploy. No, right? This is something as an engineer we have to do it. Right? So now let's go into the last phase where we'll do some hands-on. We'll see our first AI agent and getting to know about these tools, what we have got now, right? Where we are sitting, like Cursor, Anti-Gravity, Claude Code. We'll give you an overview, but let's see the case study first, right? So, I mean, I'll just tell you about the Cursor and then we'll go into directly our case study. So now what is Cursor? It's a coding agent. So you saw the categories, right? We saw these categories: coding agents, Cursor, Claude Code, GitHub Copilot, VS Code, which has GitHub Copilot. You have research agents, data agents. So now we are only talking the first bucket, which is my coding agents. So as an engineer, my job is to write a code or ship the features for which I need to write a code. So I can use VS Code. Obviously, I'm using VS Code, right, with GitHub Copilot. But as an individual, you have all these options because everything comes with some free usage, right? And GitHub Copilot is free, by the way. If you are using VS Code with GitHub Copilot, this is free. VS Code, GitHub Copilot, if you want to download, you can download. Microsoft is giving for free to every of you, I mean, up to very large extent. So download the VS Code, get your sign account with the GitHub Copilot. You are getting free agent inside that. You can do that. Then you have Cursor, right? Cursor also comes with little free usage, but then you have a paid plan for it. Google Anti-Gravity, again, as of now, it is free. As of now, they are giving free, right? And what they will do the same job what we have learned so far. They will plan for me, they will execute the code bases, right? In the sense, they can read my code, they can access my architectural documents, they can go to web and search about it. So they have the tools which are relevant for a coding agent, right? They are not connected with Gmail because that's not a relevant tool for my AI agent, coding agent. They have the tool to read files, read code, read your MD files, read your database schema. That's what the good tool for my coding agent. To do the web search, to bring the API docs. So I'll not go and write myself an API code, I'll copy it, right? I mean, how the traditional way of this thing. Say I want to connect to Hagen API, right? I mean, I'm just taking any random example for that matter. I want to connect to Twitter API. I want to connect to this, right? What was the traditional approach, right? I go here, I copy this, I get my API key, right? I copy this code and paste it to my code. That hey, I want to send a post request on this URL. This is my API key, right? Here I'll put my API key, or I'll save it in some environment file, right? But this is where I'll go and have my code, and I'll copy that code and come to my document because this is something company has to give me. Now I don't have to do this. I'll say I want to connect agent, go and read the documentation, bring its API. My agent will come to this side, read this documentation, bring this into my code, and I'm done with it. So this is like two access, right? It has memory, and finally we will see the execution. That's what they are executing or features at a time, right? Step by step. Code fixes, code review environment. This is where Cursor comes in, right? This is same code, right? You have left hand side your entire coding files, your main screen, but now you have this agent coming in. This is your ID, right? Your anti-gravity, which I talked about, Google anti-gravity, JS files, any files, but now you have an agent over here, right? You have an agent manager. If I click here and if I go my agents, right? You have an agent inside your Google anti-gravity. So that means I can invoke my agent, I can have it on my site doc, right? You can click here, you can have it, you can do a lot of great stuff, sorry, inside my IDEs now because of this agentic coming inside my code. Right, so this is where it is coming, Cursor is there. Cursor, you have this agent coming in, right? Which you can, I mean, we'll be discussing about these modes. But this is the new way of where I talked about AI assisted coding. And now let's take the case study and learn about Cursor and solve this one case study, which is beginner level. Tomorrow you have a little more advanced level. So we'll be building our first AI agent, which is a very beginner level. Tomorrow you have a multi-agent system. Today it's like a single agent. Tomorrow you'll be building multi-agent. What you have already know right now. So this case study is a very genuine problem, I would say, right? All of you know about Twitter. It's a tweet platform, right? Where you go and write or express your thoughts. So the problem that Twitter wants to solve is that they want to have a system, an AI agent, which can classify each tweet into hate or non-hate, right? I mean, that whether it's a hate speech, whether it's targeting any community, it is talking about caste, religion, right? Something targeting some audience, or it's a hate speech which can say some wars and everything, which has a potential risk of doing that, or manipulate something. So that content should be immediately removed. I mean, and if you don't know the consequences, I think you know about elections in US and how Meta got so much, I would say, right, so much into the trouble because of that election and how Meta helped them out, right? So you know, right, this is very genuine problem for the companies that as soon as a person tweets, my AI agent should tell me that it's a hate, not within maybe let's say 3 to 4 seconds. And if it is a hate speech, automatically delete that post. Right? So people are spreading misinformation, people are spreading financial advices which they are not entitled to, right? They are not a financial advisors. All these problems are there, and I want a solution for just a hate speech that if it's a hate speech, my agent should be classifying, and there should be a rule how they should classify, right? So this is what we will be looking inside the demo, building our first AI agent for this problem statement that we have done. Now, few things before I go and explain the code, right? If I go and write, right, I mean, you just imagine what is there inside my AI world. I have a standalone companies like OpenAI. I have Anthropic. If I go with their SDKs, which stands for Software Development Kits, I have a very long piece of code, right? Very large amount of code is there. The syntax is not very much favorable to read. And that's the reason we have, you can say, abstracted modules which are open source. And when I open source modules, you have LangChain, you have Crew AI, you have semantic kernel, which Microsoft owns about it, right? And we have our own uh, open source framework for building an AI agent, right? So you might have heard, you might have not heard. I'm just giving you that because everything is free, everything is open source, right? LangChain. So they are not agents or they are not something they have built something new. They are an open source wrappers, or I would not say wrappers, but there is something called in programming language the OOPS concept, right? Object oriented abstraction. They have abstracted the high level code and given you a very short version of it. So there are properties inside OOPS. Abstraction is one of them. Your polymorphism, abstractions, right? All this is my object oriented programming. So they have abstracted a code. Second, you have Crew AI, which I will be talking about today. Right? Not Kriya AI, it's Crew AI. Right, this one, the leading multi-agent platform. Crew AI, the Microsoft ones, right, which I'm talking about. And you can use anything because everything is free, right? You don't have to pay to them for their code. Right? You have semantic kernel. So most of our application in enterprise has semantic kernel, right? Because this is like again an abstraction on how to make an AI agent, right? So this is written. We use this module inside that. So enterprise ready because this is co-pilot friendly, right? All of that is related to, you can say, Microsoft related things, right? So you have plugins, you have prompts, you have database, RAGs, agents, everything inside that, and that's like an orchestrator for me, right? Similarly, you have Crew AI, right, which is good platform to build your multi-agent system. And the best part I like about this is the amount of code you need to write is very small, right? You'll see that today how Crew AI. So these are the do it right now, but you can follow it along, which is step-by-step guide. One command for Mac OS, one command for Windows, and you'll be able to install this. Right? So this is the crew.ai. I'll be explaining you, but you should have Python greater than 3.10, right? That's what the recommendation is. And then if you're using the Mac OS, just need to run this on terminal. If you're on Windows, do this and run this command tool install Crew AI. So it will install all the dependencies, all the abstracted code, what they have written, right? And you see here, agents, flows, tools, everything they have sorted out for us. And once you install it, now we can build our AI agents. And hardly it is simply, I would say, three files, right? Main three files, and you are done with your agent, right? So let's go one by one, all three files, by the way, how you can understand this thing in a complete understanding. So my first file is agents.py, right? And I have three files, right? Agents.py, main is just for running it. I have task.py, right? That's it, where I am build my agents, right? And I am on my beginner level, right? So this is the only file. I'll just make it. Right, these are my just three main files, right? Main.py, task.py, and agents.py. That's where we are on the beginner level. You'll get the code, we'll share you the repo towards the end of the mastermind, so you'll get that code, right? But you just look at the syntax once, right? I'll just make it a little more friendly. So you see, import crew from crew.ai, import my agent. From crew.ai LLM, import my LLM. Now you know my agent requires what? Agent requires LLM, agent requires tools, agent requires prompt, right? Prompt, or you can say task, right? And whatever you can call it as. It requires these three, four things, and memory is already solved by them, right? They have the memory, crew.ai memory is also there. Everything is there inside this single package. And I am using an open router key, right? As I told you that open router key allows me one single API key, right? Which I'm using here. So this is stored in my .env file, all my API key. I'm getting my API key, and now it allows me to select any model here, right? If I want to use OpenAI, I can use OpenAI. Let's say you tell me that, hey, Devesh, can you use Anthropic? Yes, you can. You see here, I got my Anthropic.Claude 3.5 Sonnet. I can use Claude also. So single API key allows me to connect to different models, and that's the reason their name is Open Router. They're routing, right? And different model will have obviously different cost, right? That is there. But that's the best part. I mean, I like about Open Router. Or I have a fallback also if not there, of let's say credentials get out, I'm not left with money inside this Open Router, use ChatGPT, right? I mean, OpenAI keys. But getting my API keys is simple, right? I mean, ideally you should know. You just go to get my API keys, go to the model, Open Router or OpenAI, get your API keys done, and you have to save it in your file. So this is just the setting part of it. Getting my API key, follow the model, right? If you want to go to OpenAI, you want to get the OpenAI API key, just search for OpenAI API key. Right? It will land to you to the platform. You have to have your money inside that, right? And minimum $5, and that's how you can get API key. Right? It's not free. Open API key is not free, but $5 is more than enough to build large amount of application. The reason is the cost of token is very less, right? So you just go to platform, sign in with your account, get to your account details, and get your key, right? This is how I have got it. I'm just giving you a high level. If someone you from any background, you are not aware of this process, it's very simple. Go to Google. That's how you exactly get for any large language model. I can get for any LLM for that matter, right? You go here, you go to your API keys, and finally create your new API key from this one. Right now, that you have integrated in your environment file. Now it is there. Now you see my first thing where I am creating my hate speech agent. Right, so I have imported an agent, and inside my agent, I have role, goal, LLM, which I'm using, and the backstory, which is the best part, right? I'll just close this as of now. I'll make it this also a little bit more, right? Yes. So you see here, right, my code, or let me have all the files so that you can see the left-hand side. So I have this one variable which I have created, hate speech detector. This is of the type agent which I imported. The name, right, the role, hate speech detector, analyze the text and identify if any hate speech or offensive language is present, right? High level goal given to my large language model, which is the GPT-4o we are using inside my AI agent. So you see, it has got LLM, it has got the goal, it has got the role, and now backstory, right? This is something a new word might be. I mean, you might be getting it to know for the very first. So backstory It is for Instagram, Quora, Google reviews, multiple platforms where people go and rant about it, right? Where people can misspread the information. But from the backstory, it has got to know that this is for Twitter. It knows right tweets now in the context, and still it has got the high level thing that what I need to do it. Right, this is where my agents.py file is defined, and hardly how many lines of code, right? I mean, this is just the setting up of my model, right? So let me not count this ideally. Like this is just the setting up my like getting the LLM, or let's say if I say let's say 5 6 lines and 5 6 lines here, right? Hardly 12 lines of code, and my agent is just defined here. I got my first file done. That's the power of abstraction. Second file, right? Task.py. I think yeah, which we created last time. I'll just go undo the file so that you can see it. Right now you see from crew.ai import task I've given, right? I mean from agents which I just created, agents.py file, which we just saw, I'm importing my hate speech detector agent. Right? This is the name you have given to your agent. This is a variable name. And I'm importing that same agent inside my this file. Right? So simple from agents import this, from crew.ai import the task. And now you see you have given the detailed task. Now, can you see the difference between task and backstory? This is phenomenal. I mean, this should be understood by everyone. What is task doing? Can you tell me in the chat? What is exactly task is doing? It is what it is conveying to my model, right? Procedures, rules. Isn't it step by step guide? Absolutely, right? Chain of thoughts. You are letting your model know step by step that identify this, right? Label it as a hate speech. You're giving more context also, right? Within that, like what comes under hate speech. If you see that something it is targeting a group which is related to race, ethnicity, religion, national disability, sexual orientation, everything under my hate speech, right? If I'm targeting any community also, right? Maybe bisexual, that is a hate speech remark, right? So I am giving the context that what should come under, right? Label it as a hate speech. Do not add a hate speech, profanity, rudeness. So this is like step by step guide that once you get an input, evaluate on step one, step two, three, step four. Check before answering, verifying everything, and you see expected output. The another term inside my task, right? What does task is expecting? Task is expecting me to have a description. Task is expecting me to have the output format. And my format is return me only one label, hate speech or no hate speech. Generally, the problem with LLMs is they try to give you reason that I feel this is hate speech because of these words, right? You use ChatGPT, you know that they are verbose in nature. I don't want that. I want a single answer, hate speech or no hate speech. Don't give me reason, don't give me anything unless and until I want that, right? So I want only one thing. Agent is my hate speech detector. So my task.py file is also ready with my one, you can say hardly 10 15 lines of code, right? Importing the task variable and given the instruction. Done. And that's where I set up my agent, right? My agents.py, where I actually built my agent, right? Where I created an agent object, which is having the role, LLM, goal, and backstory. I have my task.py, which is step by step instruction, planning, right? You have given a planning module to your AI. And finally, my main.py where I will create a crew object, right? Now you can imagine why the name crew, right? I was not giving you the answer at that time. The package itself, right? The company itself, I would say, is known as crew.ai. And that's where the landing page was, right? Crew AI, build your multi-agent, right? Accelerate AI agent in adoption, which is open source. Crew means some group of people, right? I mean, what's the English meaning of crew? A group of people. So I am making a crew of single agent in this example, right? Like you have a cabin crew, right? When I talk about cabin crew, when you travel, there is a cabin crew which involves all the people in the flight, right? That is your cabin crew. Your air hostess, your lead air hostess, your pilot, everything combined is your cabin crew. So this is a crew which I have created of my agents. So that's where it is creating a crew of agents. And I have only one agent as of now, so I can use one agent. And if I have multi-agent, I can have my comma separated agents here, which you will be looking in tomorrow's session, right? When you build a multi-agent. Your task is there, right? I have a task called hate speech detector verbose equals to true. Let's say first I will make it false, right? I'll tell you exactly what it is doing. Let's say I made it false. Now I have given the example, the country is less intelligent and incapable of contributing to society, right? Results equals to crew dot kickoff. Go and start it, right? Kickoff means, I mean, you see the words, you see the functions that this package gives me, right? I can simply remember, right? Kickoff means go and start your system. So I created a crew and finally I'm kicking it off. That's the function that is available to me and my AI agent will run. So I just need to run this file because everything is imported on here only. Agent is also imported, task is also imported. Hardly again 22 lines of code done. So if I now run this file, right, python main.py, my crew.agent will run, take this text as an input and tell me the answer, whether it's a hate speech or no hate speech, right? So it is running, it is calling my API call to LLM, reading step-by-step guide, which is this, and finally giving me a one-word answer, which is hate speech. And now you see only a response because I don't want to print anything what agent is doing inside it or what steps agent is taking. That's where I made it false. If I make this as a true, I can see exactly, right? I can see exactly what my agent is doing, thinking, what steps it is following, and so on, that stuff, right? So again, if I run now, you see this is a very detailed answer and it has all the steps, right? So it has started from here, right? You see crew.ai. Okay, first it is telling me that new version is available. Fine. It is telling me some ID that, okay, I have started your task. This is your ID where you can track. Analyze the following and determine the whether hate speech. It has all the step-by-step guide. Hate speech detector is my agent. It started. It is going through the task. It is going through my example. The country is less intelligent and is incapable of contributing to society. Right? Let's say I'm targeting some country. Right? I'll not take any name, but let's say I'm targeting some country where I'm saying people there are not intelligent or incapable of contributing to society. Now AI agent has finally given me the answer that, see, this is a no hate speech. I have done my task. This is what I have done. And it's a single task, right? So it has done only one task. And finally, I'm done. And this is your answer. So this is verbose, right? I mean, I can see the logs. This is like just a logs, nothing else. But I'm getting a one word answer, which is hate speech or no hate speech, right? So this is where my model exactly do a fantastic job of printing and doing it the stuff. Right, and you can change the sentence, you will find it. Maybe I can just save it, right? Or I can change it. Okay, this sentence is already there. Maybe I change it, right? Something like whatever. Okay, it is showing me some examples. I don't like people who are, let's say, or who are from, let's say, any country, right? Or let's say, I don't like people who are, let's say, self-obsessed. I'm just taking any random example, right? Self-obsessed and and belong to, let's say, poor class, right? I'm just taking any example here, right? So I given this just an example. I'll run this file. I'll save it now, right? I'll again run this, and model has to predict it. But now my output got changed. Okay, what happened? Okay, I haven't closed my sentence. Okay, it has double quotes. Yes, I'll save it. And I will kick off my agent python.main.py. Right, so again, it has a step-by-step guide, right? It will go into that order and it will detect whether it should be classified or not. So right now it is classifying it as no hate speech, right? Though I'm targeting, but yeah, it is evaluating based on all these rules, right? So do not label as hate speech for profanity, rudeness, right? So maybe it will be coming under rudeness, right? So this is like a rudeness, and this is exactly following our, you can say, instruction here, right? Do not label it as a hate speech if it is a rudeness or insult to that target, right? But if I say poor class and in India, for example, right? I just want to say that if I keep on adding something, whether it is changing my output or not, right? So what are the categories? What are my steps? So this is the overall ongoing process to define your steps. What are the best way to find it out whether your agent is doing it right way or not right way, right? So this is where you see here, it is again no hate speech, right? Now if I say, let's say, right, I target some race or ethnicity, right? It should be an hate speech like in my previous example, right? For example, keys are back to society, right? For example, if I do this, ideally now it is race, right? I mean, on some gender also you can imagine. So ideally it should be classified uh, as my hate speech remark, right? So this is spreading a hate speech in the society. You see hate speech, right? So the now response has changed because of my rules that earlier it was insult, right? It was more of a rudeness kind of a post. So there is a thin line, right? But this is ever keep on evolving. And that's where I want to show you the next feature, right? So this is what we have built, hardly few lines of code. Now you see what is the power of my agents, right? Now I'll go here and say that this is where it comes. You have plan mode, debug mode, ask mode, right? I'll give you an overview of cursor. Ask mode is simple, right? What it is doing, you can simply ask what this code is doing. Ask mode is you are asking a question, what this code is doing. So you start using these tools now, right? You use in a new way of coding so that once you see the entire repo code, you can get the entire summary of that code that, hey, what does it do, right? So see, it is reading all the files. This is a small Crew AI classification app that decide whether the sentence is a hate speech. Imagine if I have not explained you and just you see this code for the first time. It has explained you everything. That it has one file, it has task.py which defines how to categorize into a hate speech. The prompt gives us strict rules. Hate speech, no hate speech, right? Main py wires your agent and task, right? You got your answer. That is what your ask mode is. Now, what is the difference between agent and plan mode? Agent is something it will plan, do, and build all together, right? You see here, plan, search, build, and together in one step. So in one step, you will do each and everything in one go. If I'm in the agent mode, so it will plan and it will execute it. So I don't want to do it execution in one go. I'll first want to like to go into the plan mode, right? So I can describe what I want, right? So I have few steps. I have few steps for model to categorize. Can you check if it covers all edge cases? Right now, my LLM has to decide whether it has all the edge cases, whether all my hate speech are getting detected or not. So it will read, it will define a plan. Once I implement it, it will make the changes in my code. Right? So it's like a two-step process. You see in the knowledge gaps. Missing protected classes context, right? Women in explicit or something like that. It is missing implicit and explicit phrasing, group level generalization without slurs, ambiguous pronouns. All this is not there. Yeah. What is already good, what is missing, recommended actions. Add explicit checks such as treat group level negative, treat cause, right? So it has more granularity towards my hate speech. And now if you say create a plan, right? Create a plan. I mean, it has given you the things that what I need to change. Now it will plan you the entire thing. See here, it has started drafting a plan that what all changes I'll be doing. And if I go and click a build button, once I'm done, right, it will go and build the entire thing, right? So you see here, if I just close this terminal, You see the goal: improve the reliability of my hate speech detector validation to-dos. This is the to-do, right? Revise the task description, validation, what rules it has to have, right? Then check everything, all the edge cases, what you need to do. Not gone build, it will start writing the exact code for me. Right? It's a three to-dos it has to do. It will make a change in my task.py file, and that's exactly what I wanted to do it. Right? So it is writing all the new version of my edge cases, which I might have missed it in my code, right? It is writing everything on my behalf. And this is the origin. You see, right? It has increased. I earlier had only few use cases. Now you see I have a detailed plan for it. And this is where my AI assisted coding comes. You still will be sitting validating the output, but AI is helping you build faster alongside with it. Right, so this was all about your cursor. The last part is about the Claude Code, right? I'll show you on a high level where this Claude Code comes in, how it is different from your normal cursors and anti-gravity of VS Code, right? But you got a point, right? How to use. So what is the best file is, I mean, best tips for cursor is give the clear context, use your dot cursor rules, right? You can create one folder inside your, I mean, it automatically creates, which has all your rules, right? Whenever I want to use, let's say, front end, so this rule is written that you use React, TypeScript. If you want to create APIs, use these rules. So they are just the markdown files, right? These are the plans.markdown files, which is very similar to your Claude Code also, but they have the rules now to go through these things whenever it is needed, right? So they are good at building one feature, two features at a time, but when you give them a very high level task, right, which has multiple repositories, multiple steps to be taken. Right? For example, you go and type a prompt, I want to build an app like YouTube, let's go and build it. Hey, we have given a very high level goal that I want to build a YouTube app. We have not given a feature that I want a user to upload a video. That's it, what you are looking, right? YouTube have tons of features. I want to build an app like Uber for it will give you something, but that will not be correct because it's a very autonomous project, cross repository project, right? Long running processes. So it is difficult for these tools, right? They are good for building features in your existing code. So that's the autonomy gap which is there, which is up to very large extent, right? I'll not say completely, up to very large extent solved by Claude Code. And they are known as autonomous agents. When I say autonomous, they are mostly command based, right? I mean, it's not, I mean, now they have come up with their extensions in VS Code and Cursor. You have a UI connector to it inside your VS Code, but mostly they are favorable as a command line tool, right? I use command line, Windows PowerShell to operate these Claude Code, and they are autonomous in nature now. When I say autonomous, they are building agent, they can build a full-fledged feature code, right? All the files, maybe 10, 20 files which you have planned, which it needs to be executed. It will take 20, 30 minutes, but it will write entire code for you. So this is like an autonomy where you as an engineer, right? I mean, I'm using Claude Code for a lot of great stuff. I have given a task, right? I think I was telling you about some forest thing, right? We have planned it out, the entire feature. We gave it. It has written 20, 30 lines of code, 30 files, not lines, sorry, 30 files, which has multiple lines of code. It took 30 minutes. You can go and grab a coffee. But it will keep on working once you have planned it out, right? Again, it will work on 4 principles. So your first principle never goes away. Always remember, right? And this is not for this subject, any subject. Your first principles never go away, whether you're learning physics, maths, history, whatever, right? So first principle is AI agent is built up of your planning, tools, memory, actions. Still, Claude Code is using that. And that's where Elon Musk always says, right? Learn from first principles. So it is also doing some planning under the hood, right? You see the agent creates a plan. It will review the plan with the user. Once you approve it, then only it will go and build it. Like how Cursor also did, right? Cursor build a plan. You can review it. I clicked on build button and it started implementing. But they are autonomous in nature, right? So they have a bigger context window. They have bigger database in a sense. They can build a full feature, full app in one go. If it requires 20, 30 files, yes, it can go and do it, right? So if you want to start something from scratch, where you don't have any changes, like how I use cursor to build my feature, right? To enhance my feature. But I want to build something from scratch, right? That this is my problem. This is what I want to solve. Go and plan. So it will plan, it will go over the detailed things, right? Give me all the requirements, what it needs to do, ask me all the clarifying questions, and then it will start implementing it, right? So this is like a what we known as Claude Code, right? So again, one single line command, and this is not free. Again, this is not free, right? All your VS Code, Cursor, Google Antigraph is still free to use, right? I don't know how many people are using or not using, but this is absolutely free. So if you are not using, my strong recommendation, download one, two, or all three, up to you, right? Problem they are solving same thing, right? So use anti-gravity, use cursor, use VS Code, all three are doing the same, solving the same problem, and all three are free. Up to large extent. Up to large extent. I'm using the free version if you see here, right? It is showing me upgrade to Pro. I'm not using a paid version of my cursor. Now install Claude Code, right? Just type this. So this you have to buy the subscription. I think the minimum one is around $27 or 28. The better one is $100 also, right? Even $200 also, right? So that's the plan of Claude Code. When you extensively use, I mean, start with small. If you haven't used, start with small, and I can bet you, if you start using Claude Code, definitely you will go and buy the $200 plan, right? Because that's the kind of phenomenal coding agent that has come up with, right? You just need to install this, and once you have installed, you have to use your terminal for operating this, right? I can show you maybe again how to do it. I have already opened, right? You use terminal, you use your PowerShell, anything. So first thing is you should know a little bit of your Linux commands, right? When I say Linux or your UIX commands, like Claude, cd, change directory, ls. So these are just Linux commands just to operate your terminal, right? So I wanted to go to my directory, right, where my code is present, right, where this code is present, which we were talking about. So I have an /agents, right? This is where my code is present. So I went on to this code. If I do ls list, I see all my files here, right? You see all my coding files listed here, right? What is there inside this folder. And once I am here, I will just type Claude, and it will start me a new session, which is in this location, and it has access to entire coding, right? It has multiple files, it has access to everything now. Right? So few things, I mean, I can check my, right? You see slash, that's how few commands here. These are all the commands, right? Clear, context, compact, and there is a meaning also, right? Compact means it will summarize everything and store the conversation. Right? You see clear the conversation summary. So this is how it is. I'll make a little bit also. So how these commands work, right? So if I do slash context, you'll see that it will show me the entire context window, right? Which we talked about in our session, that what is a context window. Now you can see, right? It has a 1 million of context window and how much it is occupied, right? You see, my 3% of my context window is occupied because of some tools, because of some skills, right? You see, system prompt is there already. My 8.3K tokens, which I can't do anything, right? System prompt is already defined by them. So few of my tokens, few of my tools have occupied the MCP server that I have. So my context window, I can check it out. But first, I should start with my plan mode, right? Let's say I go to my plan mode, right? Edit plan mode, right? I have different agents also. Let me show you agents. If I Google different agents, you see here what all agents I have, right? You see, I can create my multiple agents. You see, senior front-end engineer, senior code optimizer. If I click on this, you can actually see what this agent will do. And these are just instructions. Right? When you see here, senior front-end engineer, you are a senior front-end engineer with 15 years plus experience in building UI UX. So now whenever I say that, hey, I want to build a front-end app like Uber, it will call this agent and work it parallelly. So this is where my team of agents will come in. Right, I have all these agents in parallel. I can create new. Let's say I want to create new. Right, I click on create new. I'll press enter. I'll give my instructions here that what agent I want to build in. Okay. Right, I'll go again, agents, right? This part, I click on create new agents, right? For this project, generate from Claude. Right, when I describe, I can create my agent if I want to build. Let's say I want to build backend engineer who is expert in Python, right? I'm building a Python and expert, so I'm specifically mentioning a Python who will help me, let's say, build agents with, let's say, Crew AI framework. So this is specifically agent I want to build who is expert in Python and Crew AI, right? So I can build multiple agents such like specifically one for Java, one for JavaScript, anything you can build a specialized agent in. And this will be now residing in my entire repository. So now when I give a task that, hey, I want to create a new agent for this problem statement, use Crew AI agent, done. It will call this whatever the instructions that are being written inside this, I'm good to go with that, right? So these are like multi-agent system. Whenever it needed front-end engineer, it will call front-end, back-end, and all of them can work in parallel. If I give a high-level app goal that this app I want to build, the web application, it will work simultaneously, right? You see, it is asking me which all tools you want to give access. I'll say, let's say, all read-only tools, for example. I'll click on continue. And which model I want to select for this agent. I think Sonnet is good, right? Sonnet is good for writing the code, by the way, right? Opus is good for planning. So Opus is by default. The main agent which you are residing into, right? This is your main Opus agent only. This is Opus 4.7. If you remember our multi-agent system, orchestrator, the manager, this is my manager, right? This is my multi-agent, the best part, I mean, the smaller sub-agents, right? So let's say a green color, project scope, user scope, right? Yes, it should be on the user level. Now you see it has given the system prompt. You are a light backend engineer, deep expertise in Python and Crew AI framework. You have an extensive experience in designing production level code. I'll press enter and I have my new agent, which is for Crew AI backend engineer. So you see, I have added one more agent in my team. Right, so this is very powerful. And now if I want to build anything, I'll just show you plan mode. I'll still not be executing. So I'll go to my plan mode and give a problem statement, right? For example, I want to build multi-agent system for make my trip where main agent has sub-agents, right? I'm planning it out. I'm not giving, this is not a prompt, this is plan mode on. I will plan alongside agent. I mean, plan alongside AI, what all features I need. It will ask me all the clarifying questions and so on. Right? It has sub agents, let's say flight, hotels, and trip planner. Use relevant tools, MCPs, as we want real-time data, right? We want real-time data, so it has to figure it out, or I help to then figure it out, which all API keys are available to fetch the flight details, which are my hotel APIs is available, and so on, right? I'll show you one or more thing, and the best way to operate is ask, give this line, right? Towards the end, give this line, use ask user question tool. This is the tool with Claude, by the way, which helps you navigate all the thoughts, whatever you might have missed. Right? So this is not, you have to give a full-fledged prompt, give a high-level thought. It should not be a detailed, full-fledged prompt, right? It should be much more detailed in the sense you should tell what is the scope of this application, who will be using, all of that I need to give, but since the interest of time, I think we are almost on 10 p.m. I just given a very minimal details, but now you see it has started working parallelly, right? You see it is paralleling exploring different agent, different code bases, different things, entire thing it is doing, and all of that stuff, right? So this is how my entire set of agent is doing, and it is planning entire thing in a sense. It will give me a full-fledged plan. It will ask me questions. Once I approve it, I click enter. It will take 30-40 minutes, right? I'm not saying it will be like really fast. It will take 30 minutes, but at the end, you'll have a complete multi-agent system with front end, back end, APIs, database, what it requires to build an app, everything sorted. So it's not just a front end tool like your lovable and we can say, right, like bold or emergent kind of an application which will only make a POC. No, this is full-fledged production level coding assistant. And that's the reason why it is in so much hype. I mean, if you just search for Claude Code, you'll find a lot of people are talking about it, right? Everywhere this is Claude Code. Reason is simple, right? Because they are autonomous agents, they are capable of writing good amount of code. And if you are hearing keep on good stories, right? It was able to solve the problem which was unsolved from last 25 years. Right? In medical diagnosis also, it was able to find the disease which was pending from last 25 years. So doctors, engineers, Google has come out, Microsoft is using everywhere. Small startups, not just big tech, small startups are using this Claude Code. Why? Because it has superpowers of making your code base ready end to end. Right? And you just have to validate, test, debug, design the architecture alongside with that, and so on. Right? So you see this pattern. Now your multi-agent, like how I created one agent, which Crew AI, all of them work together. So front end will work on front end, back end will work on back end. Once they have the entire code, they will try to orchestrate and merge to it. Right? So the best tips for the Claude Code, give clear goals, not detailed instruction. Let it figure it out. Your Claude Code is smart enough to figure it out. Start with Claude.md project, right? Yes, this you can start with, right? I mean, if there is no manual, I personally used Shift tab where I made it in the plan mode, right? So you saw that plan mode, which is it is writing Claude.md file. So it will always write a plan. It will not make any code changes. It will not write a single line of code in the planning mode. So always use plan mode and then finally review it and start making with it. Right? So there are simple boundaries in Claude.md which it cannot do, which it should do, which code it can refer. It can see through all the repository codes, like what it was doing in my case. So it has all the capabilities to scan through it and has a context window also, 1 million. So it's a good context window. Right? But what are the problems, people? The very first problem is token limit. I get out of my token limit very soon, right? So you have to be vigilant whether all the code in the code repo is required for an AI agent or not. Can you create a subfolder? Do you want it to invoke in the entire repository? Because it will go through each and every file. It will try to read, right? Like whether it is important or not. So if you think that is not important, create a small folder. Create skills, right? There is something called skills inside that so that you are not exposing all the tools, you are creating skills and they are only called when needed. So this is like sitting. They will not be called. This will only be called if I say use front-end skill. So it will call that skill once it is needed. That's it, right? So that's where your multi-agent can come, your skills can work together and make your code better. But yeah, if you have very large cross-collaborative repositories, it might struggle, right? So there are some limitations, which is this, that if you have 3 or 4 repositories, each repo has a different code, then it might struggle to get into the context, right? So we have to be vigilant about that. And the best way is how to solve this problem and how to save tokens, right? I get this question most of the times, how should I save my tokens? Use skills, use something called caveman skill, which just came, right? It will not give you output tokens. I have not used it, caveman, but there is a skill called caveman, right? If you type caveman skill, you'll see this is only proposing you how you can save your tokens. I haven't tried it out so far, but I've heard the feedback. Some are saying it is very good, some are saying it is not missing, but you see, cuts the token usage by 75%. How it will drop all the fillers, right? It will just give you to the point answers. So your tokens are not getting wasted. and you can make your own combination, right? So I will go and research first of all. I'll not use Claude Code for research, right? I'm wasting my tokens if I am like doing a research, right? Like how I did in Claude Code that I want to build a multi-agent. That is kind of a research. Can I use Claude.ai to make this .md? Why not? Right? Claude.ai is your front end app, right? This one. This is your Claude AI. So I can use Claude AI to get my plan, get my things sorted out, get my full-fledged system so that it is free. Once I have the plan, I can upload that .md file, and then I can use Claude Code. Once I get my files, if I want to change one or two features, I can use Cursor now. Once my code is there, right, I can open it in Cursor. I can change all my code in my Cursor. So it's like a combination. You don't have to stick only Claude Code and you are planning also, you are treating it is like a chat GPT. Right? I have seen a lot of people, if you ask me, a lot of people are treating Claude Code as a chat GPT. They go and plan, they ask questions, does it good for, they are asking these questions, they are doing injustice to that model, right? You make a plan, you have everything, upload the plan and say implement it and use Claude Code for just the implementation because the quality of code is phenomenal. Quality of code is correct. That's where I want to leverage that Claude Code, right? To build my entire base. Now I want to incremental features, I'll shift to Cursor. That's where you see the benefit of the plan, right? So plan your own strategy, use multiple AI things, right? That's what I wanted to conclude on. So don't stick to only one thing, use multiple things. And the last and the most important part, which is security, right? You are the one who will be securing your app. You have to test it out, test whether you are exposing any API key, right? All the vibe coders you see, right? They expose their API keys. So still the fundamentals you need to know, right? You need to know how I can store my key secrets, values, key vault pair, just test it out, deployment part, right? Security part, have the staging environments, int, prod, PP, right? I mean, NDP, prod, pre-production environment, validate all the things. Once you're satisfied that nothing of my sensitive data going out, then only take your code to the production, right? So these are some security benchmarks, but I think this is the future how AI native coding is happening, right? Maybe it has started in your company or it is going to start, but you will see now AI assisted coding. Every engineer will be using these tools for building their features and products, right? So with that, before I give it to Om back the stage and take a water break, since I'm speaking continuously, but I'll quickly wrap for you, right? Where we started, where we are now, and what is coming tomorrow. So we started off with the very first definition, if you remember, of what is an AI agent, right? You saw these four things: planning, tools, memory, action. We saw the visualization of this, right? We break down each and every module. We saw how to get my best LLM, how to get my chain of thoughts, how to get my set of tools, and how you can envision and you can say an AI agent, right? The anything part. Then we saw the benchmarks and we saw the agentic AI patterns to remember: basic responder, router pattern, tool calling pattern, which is a single agent, and the most important multi-agent, right? Your Claude code is multi-agent. You have the manager agent and sub agents which are talking to each other. Then we finally saw Cursor build our first AI agentic solution for Twitter hate speech detection, right? Hardly, I would say, if I combine all three files, hardly 50 lines of code, right? Crew.ai, task.py, agent.py, kicking off my agent, right, with the command called kickoff. Very simple, right? Hardly it is one line: task.py, agents.py, crew.ai, agents.kickoff. That's it. And my first single agent, right, was built. And tomorrow, what is coming is your multi-agent, right? So we saw Claude Code, Cursor, everything.
Yeah,
Tomorrow
yes.
is all about your multi-agent systems, right? Autonomous systems which you'll be building. I'll not tell you the problem statement. That should be surprise for you. So yes, that's what I wanted to cover today. I hope you learned a lot. Thank you, everyone, and over to you.
Perfect. I think people got a lot of information now. So I think Twitter, I think a lot of questions are coming when we're covering Twitter. Nice.
Yes, I can see a lot of thanks as well. Thank you, everyone.
Perfect. So, what we will do currently is before we move to the phase three and finish for the day, for the next 20 minutes, we'll take a very quick 5 minute break and also take questions during this time so that people who have questions can sort of get the answers. While definitely we'll take a few at the end as well. And everybody who needs a break, take a break, come back, we are here, but also posting your questions. Let me, 1 second. Yeah, perfect. So I think Devesh, you covered most of, there were a few frequently asked questions. I was also making notes. Uh, I think a few basic ones which I'd like to start with, right? We spoke about True AI, we spoke about a few other platforms and frameworks for, right? Uh, how do you tackle the question as to which framework or which tool to use for what reason? For example, LangChain versus True AI versus any other platform.
I think my answer would be to that is which syntax you like, right? That you can use because each and everything is helping me to solve the same use case, right? I can build my single agent, multi-agent, I can connect to my different tools, I can connect to my different data sources. So all these platforms help me connect to do that. And syntax wise, which is easier for me, which I can correlate, like I mean, all of them easily by the way, because I know LangChain, I know Crew.ai, most of them are simple. But if you want to choose one, I would recommend Crew.ai because that is the simplest of all. That's where I see that.
Got it. Perfect. And I think the second line of questions that was coming in was about programming languages, right? Most of the things that we spoke about were Python frameworks, Python agent, Python, at code. There were a lot of people who are listening to us who are from who majorly use, let's say, C Sharp, Java, .NET, or a few legacy backgrounds as well. Is AI only on Python? What are the pros and cons of using any other languages or accessibility that you get access to?
Now we have, I mean, if you go and ask about C Sharp, right, your .NET, all these are supported, right? Most of my agents are already trained on these languages. But if you ask what is the best native support is obviously Python, right? Because I mean, the reason is data. Python is the most adopted language. And if you check the stats, like worldwide, it's the number one language, right? So it has the most context about Python while it's getting trained. But now I have seen, right? I mean, my team builds C hash code, C sharp code. We have .NET code and we have in services. Right, we have JavaScript code, by the way, which is talking about a lot of front end side of things of our application. So it does a phenomenal job there also now, right? I mean, front end is completely you can rely all the front end engineers, your back end if you are using all these languages. Yes, right. Java, if you ask me, it can do decent job, right? I will not say the best job, right? Java is still, I think, is pending to get it approved, right? So all these languages are there, but yes, some has pros and cons. But if you ask me, Python is the number one, which is solved by AI, and I would say yes.
Got it. Understood. And I think
And just I think second reason is most of the frameworks are built in Python. Right, that is also like your LangChain is Python based, and I think JavaScript based. Your Crew.ai has Python and JavaScript. So mostly you'll see support from these languages only.
understood. Makes sense. We have also a small chunk of people who are from non-IT or non-tech background. I think definitely I told them that it would be slightly overwhelming for people, even from tech overall, right? But how easy or difficult it is for people from non-tech or non-IT to sort of understand what we taught and what's coming in tomorrow, or how easy for them it is to pick up what we are covering.
I think on a surface level for non-tech folks, you can still understand, right? Like how things are working or what is an AI agent, like how you got. Maybe from the coding perspective, you might not be able to correlate everything for non-tech person, right? Or from any other language, people who are coming. But I would say fundamentally, if you know any one language, you can easily adapt it. It's like just a syntax difference, right? The fundamental remains same. But if you're completely non-tech, if you are like an you can say in your company you are working as a product side of things, right? You are building features, you understand tech jargons, right? So that again you can understand, but you are not doing a coding, you will not understand the coding part of it much, but you understand the problem we are solving, you understand how agent works, connecting the dots and you can still build a system, right? And you can see how systems are built. So that way, yes, you can definitely have a good learning, but you will not be able to understand how the Python things work under the hood.
Understood. Got it. Perfect. I think one final question, you already covered slight bit of it, but I think it's majorly around security. When you build agents, when you give them access to your platform, the tools that we access that to sort of execute, how safe it is, or what are the checkpoints and guardrails that we should look for and set up before we sort of give them access?
Right, I think that's the fundamental thing. And if you see, right, your Maltport, your Claude, everything came in, and people directly started using, and they itself saying, right, we are not responsible for your security part. The company itself saying, right? So ideally, how you should evaluate is, am I giving the access and which is residing in my local, or is it going to some server? Right. So if I downloaded something like how you can download the LLM, by the way, right? That's what I was talking about. I can download the large language model inside my laptop. I can install my Claw board, which is mod board, you can say, inside my laptop. Now both the things are residing here only, right? Inside my local system. Now if I give anything access that, hey, you have my folder access, you have my Gmail access, I give my client ID secret, it is still safe, right? I will say still safe. The reason is if it is everything is stored in my laptop. Nothing is going on to the server side of things. But when I say there are all the platforms, right? There are multiple platforms on the internet which is allowing you to build these cloud board. One click setup done. They are dangerous, right? So you have to evaluate because you have given the access to some third party platform which has further access to all your Gmails, everything else. It might install some MCP server which you do not even know what it is doing, and it can install some malicious content, right? So it is warning, right? Even if we are even not allowed to install any MCP server which is not listed in our repository, right? We have list of MCPs which we can install in the company. So now as an engineer, you have to be vigilant. What you can do, what you cannot do. So if I don't know what is MCP server, if I'm blindly going on the internet and checking out, okay, this is available, let me install, you are gone, right? I mean, it will be flagged out and everything is like concerning. So being, I mean, yes, I think someone is asking is cyber security is important or increasing. So if anyone is interested in security, definitely it's a booming field, right? Very booming field, cyber security types of things. But as an engineer, how can you safeguard is making sure everything is in local, make sure your dot keys, right? Whatever LLM keys, your tools keys are secretly stored, right? You are not exposing your secrets inside your PRs, right? The PR which you will be raising after implementing the code should not have any of your keys, right? So all that benchmarks if you take, I think security can be taken care, and you how to use AI and securing your credentials. That's the best way to do it.
Got it. I have finally two questions for you. Otherwise, people won't let me go. So the first one is basically coming around when you build these agents. I think guardrailing you mentioned about how to securely give access. But the second important point is how do we measure if it's actually working as we want? Right. So how do you benchmark these models? For example, if a human is doing a task at, let's say, consider 100% accuracy, how do we find out if the agent is 90%, 80%, or what that is? Yeah.
Correct. So I think there are multiple ways, but I'll talk about few. So this area is itself is called evals, right? We call evals in agents, evals in LLM, evals in RAGs. So what this evals means evaluation. Generally, I mean there are a lot of frameworks, but I'll tell you the important ones. One is the manual way. I mean manual means I have the source of truth answers. I have built an agent who is going and finding the answers on my behalf now. I have one LLM as a judge, right? This is the technique. If you go and search LLM as a judge, LLM is reading what it got the answer and the original answer and it is scoring it out. So that is like an LLM judge as a model. Sometimes if I have a, let's say, predictions labels already, right? Like I told you, we have sentiment classification, positive, negative for my sentences. I predicted by LLM. Now I'll test it. I have a precision recall, all of that also. In RAGs, you have top K kind of a thing. Like if my top chunks are coming out from my React system, whether those chunks are important or not, right? So I can manually verify, let other AI agent verify, I define my precision, I define my recall. So all that traditional thing is still there, right? Yes, from my prompt is right or not. If I change my prompt, is my results are changing in the vals, whether there is a scope of prompt injection, have I done the guardrailing? If I do all these checklists, I think that's the best way to evaluate all your system prompts, your solution, your answers, your everything. So that's, I think that's a full checklist you can imagine.
Got it. The final question is, we have people from 20 functions and industries, right? And all have a question, how will AI help me? If I'm a DevOps, how will AI help me? If I'm a QA engineer, how will AI help me? If I'm a data scientist, how will AI help me? How should people look at this? Today and tomorrow that's coming in. How they should make notes, how they should look at use cases that they could adopt, and how have you also reached where you are learning AI, building platforms like Copilot, and sort of helping companies adopt that. So, what is that mindset and specific action?
Right. So I think yes, definitely you are an expert. Definitely you are doing that from long time, right? So I would say how yes, we are adopting it. You are better in your domain as such. Like I mean, if I talk about our front end engineers, they are good at creating React Native dashboards and everything. So they are using AI in their favor, right? So they have built systems that if I need to have this UI UX roadmap, they give a good prompt and they get it done, right, with AI. So backend engineers are almost optimizing database operation, optimizing API keys, because that is what they are doing without AI also, right? They were used to do before AI era. As in me, data and applied scientist on algorithms, building machine learning models, deep learning models, I am leveraging AI on my behalf, right? Like how can I build it faster? If I now give a prompt to AI that this is a classification model I want to build, since my expertise, I know the algorithm, I can directly say I want to build a random forest model. So I can see the code it is giving me. So all the people, right, QA tester, you write, define your test edge cases. Once you get the code right, you are testing it out. You define the edge cases. You define all the statements where it can go wrong. You can use AI to define those edge cases for your system, that how it is solving, whether the person should raise the PR or not raise the PR. So you can automate entire systems in your behalf also. So that way it's like what you are currently doing, leveraging AI to build faster. Else you have a lot of new avenues, right? Why to restrict ourselves on the existing domains? Can I learn data science? Can I learn front end? Can I learn back end? All of that are the open questions, right, that I can go and solve. So if you ask me, right, personally, if I tell you, I have learned front end engineering via this AI itself, right? I mean, little bit. I'm not saying I'm an expert, but I know how to read HTML. I know what is CSS doing inside my code. I know what is the scope of JavaScript in my code, right? So if I'm designing front end, I know it has HTML, CSS, JavaScript. I have never studied, but now I know because of AI. So right, it's like a learning loop also, and how you become better. But existing domain, yes, you can leverage that. That's how I see it.
Perfect. I think that was it for the day, for your part for the day. Thank you so much for joining us.
I can see a lot of questions which are there in the chat, but yes, I think you can. Some of them will be answered tomorrow, but if you have specific, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'll be happy to answer as much as I can. But yes, thank you.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Dheeraj, for coming in and joining in. We'll see you once again.
Yes, thank you. See you.
Perfect. Folks, that was Dheeraj. You have his link to sort of follow him. There were a lot of questions. There's a reason it's today's. Most of the questions that you asked are already getting covered tomorrow in multiple sessions that are going to happen, 3 specifically, right? So slightly hold on. And a lot of you are also getting ahead of yourself. So wait, I know you have a lot of questions. Somebody was asking which MD files did we need to create when we create a new project in Cloud Code. It's called rules MD. Where you set up all the rules, where you sort of add what you want to add. It's a system prompt that you need to add, right? So that's basically one. What about DSA, bro? Still worth to run in DSA? Yes, yes, yes. Somebody asked a good question. Maybe Anuradha or someone else, right? Why do we need coders if AI can write code? Answer me this question. Why should I learn Spanish? Or why should I have a voice if I know Spanish? You need a voice to speak in Spanish. Coders and non-coders, the major difference is that the ability to control the output is more with coders than with no coders.